Show me your moves.
Half and half. And get over here, citizens of Earthrealm, and welcome to another episode of Geeklife, your source for all the nerdy news you need to know. I am your host, the streamer this podcast needs, but not the one it deserves. And if you're new to the show, we're a 2.5-ish hour mashup of all the pop culture news you love. We try to keep it around 2 hours now these days, but we talk about movies, we talk about TV shows, we talk about video games, and apparently human-ape hybrids? Sasquatch? I don't know. A bunch of different stuff. We go all over the place. We are not bound by the laws of one particular subject. We're just here to give you the nerdy news you need to know. So
this is true.
This is true. Back again this week is a man whose headband says Supreme, but his beard says "and my axe." Jake the Great, aka Gonzo Gone Live. How are you doing today, Jake?
I'm doing great, Dad. You know, just living the dream. Just doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Also with us today, coming up on your left, it's Kev, aka Totally Awesome. How you been, man?
I've been pretty good, Dad. You know, just catching up on some Combat of Mortals, and
yeah.
The Combat of Mortals.
There was a lot of content over the weekend for us. It's a good quarantine entertainment weekend. So as always, how are you guys surviving the post-apocalypse? I have my vaccine now, so I consider it the post-apocalypse now. Jake, you're about 1 week away from getting your vaccine fully,
Wednesday,
right?
I'll finish having my Pfizer chip.
Nice. It's great. You start getting your Xbox achievements, and you can see them right in the corner of your eye, so it really makes it handy. And when people are pinging me, I mean, it makes it a lot easier just to chat back.
I bought my coffee at Starbucks the other day. Just scanned my little wrist chip, and they let me buy a whole grande for free.
The only thing I have to worry about are the ads in my sleep. That is the part.
That shit's been getting annoying. Yeah,
it does.
You wake up,
but man, that Jeff Bezos, that guy's super cool.
How are you guys surviving the post-apocalypse?
For me, obviously, we're probably going to talk about it, not on this show, but we definitely will water cooler it probably next week. Falcon and the Winter Soldier just finished up, so obviously been watching that. That's been incredible. I think the final episode I'm a little 50-50 on, but like at the same time, like the series as a whole was awesome, and you know what's going to be next I'm really excited for. MLB The Show on Xbox. I mean, I hate to be the sports guy, but like this is the first. It's monumental. It's huge. This is when I booted it up and it said Sony Entertainment on my Xbox. I was like, what the fuck? Like, what kind
break
of crazy?
The laws of nature.
Yeah, exactly. Like I thought, like the whole universe was gonna shred in half or something. But and then Invincible, man. Invincible keeps getting better on Amazon Plus or Prime or whatever Amazon Prime.
Is that episodic? Is that something that keeps coming out every week?
Every Friday, and it's making me look forward to Fridays almost as much as like Mando was. No lie.
I mean, I'm gonna need it. I might dive into this now that I've got a void from Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yes, honestly on my Friday I looked forward to it more than Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh wow,
it's really good. I've enjoyed it a lot. Okay. And then I saw the Demon Slayer movie over the weekend too, and I hate to like continue to just like stroke off everybody who makes all the entertainment, but like, geez, that movie was great too.
Yep, you've got it all over your face at this point.
I know, like I am just like
you get a stamp of approval.
Yeah, right. Like I'm just over positive.
Everyone's great.
It's a good Sunday, and there's been a lot of good entertainment.
Stop feeding the capitalism machine, Jake, with your recommendations.
Demon Slayer was it went hard. I'm not gonna lie. So
that's how we end up with Fast and Furious 9.
Kev, what about you? How have you been surviving the post-apocalypse?
I've been good, man. You know, I just been playing the Switch, catching up on some of this delicious. I guess it's delicious. I don't know. It's got me salivating for it but we'll get into this anyway. The content, you know, it's been raging. So
yeah. I definitely think Falcon and Winter Soldier was the best piece of content that came out this weekend for us to enjoy personally. But I have been fucking up to my neck in the Sea of Thieves with everybody from the Nerd Herd that we possibly can. We've been streaming on Sax's stream. We've been streaming on my stream. We've been streaming on Geeklife stream. So I've been doing tons of that, and it's been a lot of fun. If you're interested in playing Sea of Thieves with us, the best way to do that would be to join our Discord, which you can find in the bio right below us. There should be a big icon there. It looks like a little Oregon Trail carriage. Yeah, it has the big NH on it. That's to join the Nerd Herd, which you should totally check out as our Discord community. We talk about a lot of fun stuff. Jake shows off his Pokemon cards that he got from Holland in at, 6 in the morning from Target?
Yeah. It's become like sneaker drops for Pokemon cards at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's the only thing you can get in line for a drop for these days anyway.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't get Jake to watch my Pokemon matches, but like when it comes to like getting those Pokemon cards for drop culture, Jake knows drop culture. He's like, no, this is where Pokemon's gonna sell, man.
If it sells on StockX, your boy's got it, and Pokemon cards sell on StockX. So,
we've got chats popping off right now. We got Extreme Greatness, Jay White, Sad Gaming. We got a lot. We're gonna have a lot of fun today with everybody. But before we get started, a quick reminder to everybody: if you see or like anything here on the show, if you like the stuff, follow, subscribe, do the things. There should be another link as well for our link tree, which will have our Twitch or Twitter or YouTube or Facebook, all that good stuff. You can follow us on all of our social media. TikTok is a big one for us. We've been getting a lot of cool stuff out on there. So definitely check us out there. You can also find any of us on our personal socials. You can find me at Rusebane, WRUSE_BANE. Jake, where can they find you?
You can find me at Gonzo Gone Live on both the Twitch and the Twitterverses.
And Kev, where can they find you?
You can find me at Totally Awesome.
And there you have it. Jake, I hear you got a rundown for us, and that's what I appreciate about you.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. I do have a rundown for us. This week's rundown is brought to you by Lazy Sundays. Lazy Sundays, you probably should have taken a nap today. But we've got a banger of a show for you guys, and as always, we're going to be starting with the top headlines from the week. No cap, we're getting a new cap. Nintendo is suing Bowser, and the force is strong with this upcoming remake. Then we're getting Toasty with our first thoughts on Mortal Kombat. And finally, we're diving deep in this week's deep dive on big bosses in entertainment and wrapping up things with our top Zen, the top 10 boss battles of all time. But now that I've gotten this steak nice and marinated, Kev, why don't you throw it on the grill? Hit the people with those headlines.
Ooh. Thanks, Jake. This week, Captain America 4 officially in the works with Falcon and Winter Soldier showrunner.
Wait, hold on. I do have a surprise that I forgot to put in the rundown. And this is we want to do this before we get to the headlines. So I have a pack of Shining Fates that I was going to open live on stream for us before we get started into the show. See if we got any good luck for the show. If we pull a Charizard, we might as well not even do the show and just retire, right?
We're gonna go buy the Geeklife yacht and just enjoy it.
Right. Yeah. So without further ado, let's open up this pack of Shining Fates. We got the card right there. We're gonna do the four to the front.
Oh yeah,
the fancy way, And then
I just go raw.
Yeah, I know. It's you do it the rude way. This is the right way to do it. Oh, as long as you have a place to put the cards, which I don't. So there.
And the glare is killing them.
Coughing. Is it?
They all look shiny.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Is that better?
Yep. There we go. You're just gonna have to find out what they are after we do.
I can see a little bit from the reflection in my TV.
Be surprised with this.
Oh, what's this? What do we got here? Oh, shiny Dracozolt.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's a nice one.
Yeah, hollow shiny Dracozolt. And a Manphy. Not hollow, but yeah. So we got a little shiny hollow Dracozolt. I already have one of these, but that's definitely a good pull still.
Yeah. So. I've got that guy too. He's a cool Pokemon, and he's a little OP.
Cool Pokemon. He was a part of my draft league team last season. I used him a lot. He's a good sweeper mon. If you guys haven't checked out, that's another thing I've been doing. Shout out to UGA. I've been participating in Pokemon Draft League, which is a competition, basically think fantasy football but for Pokemon. And I've been starting to stream it. lately. It's a great way. We got a league that's built with a bunch of different geek lifers in there. So if you're interested in that, again, join the Discord. But I'm sorry, Kev, I interrupted you, and I didn't have this part planned in the notes. So I don't mean
No
to.
problem.
I don't mean to stop you. So
It was
let's
a pleasant
go
surprise, my friend.
right back to the headlines. There, we got our shiny Drake result.
Yes,
Nell
thank you,
said that's worth
for,
7, and Kevin goes 7K. Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that experience with us, Dad. It was magical.
You're welcome.
Nothing like going through a booster pack with your boys. Anyways,
Right. Hey, I also have 2 more. So if we're feeling it later, we can do that. But I've also saved them for other shows if we like doing it. So if not, I'm just gonna record them for TikTok and then never save them because I don't ever pull anything good. You know.
You got to let Nelly do it.
Clearly, Nelly pulls better than I do.
Jessica, dude, my pack luck is with her. I give her pack. If I get 20 packs, she's getting like 12 of those bad boys.
Right.
She changes the cards inside before they open.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Schrodinger's cat, right? Schrodinger's cards. Who knows?
Schrodinger's cards. Exactly. But I mean, there is a philosophy, just not to get into too long of a segment here, about unopened cards being more valuable than the cards themselves now. And that is a hard thing to think about, because if it's a shit pull, reselling unopened packs is probably actually better, more worth it. So
well, that's the gamble,
politics
right?
of Pokemon cards is a whole
be a shadowless Charizard.
Yeah.
Unlikely. Or it could just be, a bunch of Bulbasaurs.
Right.
Or trainer card, all grass energy.
You could pull a
deep
non-holographic Manaphy, which nobody cares about.
We'll do a deep dive on trading cards one day, though. We got to.
We will have a whole show around it for sure. But anyways, let's get into the headlines. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you guys off.
That's right. We do have a show. Captain America 4 officially in the works with Falcon and Winter Soldier showrunner. Excuse me. After taking on the mantle and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it looks like Anthony Mackie will headline his own film with Captain America 4 officially in the works from Marvel Studios. The series showrunner, Malcolm Spellman, is returning to pen the script with Dalad Musan, which will likely continue the adventures of Sam Wilson as he embraces his role as a new Star-Spangled Avenger in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This news comes after previous reports indicating that Steve Rogers will be returning in some capacity, with actor Chris Evans rumored to be making a return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Captain America. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige sorry guys, allergy season, has since shut down those rumors during an interview with Entertainment Weekly. As of now, there is no possible release date mentioned for Captain America 4. Thor: Love and Thunder will have Russell Crowe tossing lightning bolts as Zeus. After weeks of speculation following the announcement that Russell Crowe was joining the cast of Thor: Love and Thunder, we now know who the actor is playing in the sequel, Zeus. This news comes by the way of comicbook.com, which reports that Crowe said he was Zeus in the film during an interview last week. An earlier report of Crowe's casting stated that his role was intended to be a fun cameo, kept secret by Marvel Studios until the film's release in theaters. Crowe was spotted with the rest of the film's cast in Australia, however, and then the secret, got out. Now we know what he was doing on set, not just hanging out with, Chris Hemsworth and giving him lattes, but throwing lightning bolts at Loki. That's fun. Cyberpunk 2077 still made a ton of money despite refunds. CD Projekt Red has reported record sales in 2020 despite a frustrating launch for Cyberpunk 2077. Even with 30,000 refunded copies, how many is that? 30 times 60? It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah, 30,000 refunded copies of the latest RPG. CD Projekt Red has had the strongest financial year in the company's history. Wow, you gotta love capitalism. In their latest financial call, heads of the studio claim to have learned huge lessons from the bug and glitch-riddled launch, basically saying that you can put out shit and still get rich. Just kidding. That was my quote. The game still sold well over 13 million copies in 2020, leading to massive financial success for CD Projekt Red, even given the negative press and Sony completely removing the game from the store. It's a lot of Eddies for a broken game. It is. It really is. A lot of Bennies, a lot of Georges, too. A lot of dead prezzies. whatever other currency has been sold. Nintendo suing Bowser over Switch hacks. Bowser has officially moved up from fighting plumbers to lawyers. Because, of course, that's the next Mario
Just
litigation.
laugh at my own joke.
Nintendo of America filed a lawsuit Friday against Gary Bowser, reported leader of hack creators team, executor. Bowser and other team executive members, Max Larm, were arrested and charged with 11 felony counts in 2020. Damn, that's a lot of felonies.
Yeah.
The new lawsuit alleges Bowser infringed on Nintendo's copyright in creating and selling its hacks. The lawsuit filed in the Seattle court is looking to charge Bowser with 2 trafficking counts and 1 copyright violation. Nintendo described Bowser's operation as an international pirate ring that sells Nintendo Switch hacking devices designed to circumvent the company's security measures, allowing buyers to run pirated Nintendo Switch games. That's funny. Bowser pirate. That's perfect. Next up, Star Wars KOTOR remake is in development. We've been hearing since 2020 that a remake of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is in development from a list of sources that range in from dubious to credible. And I have to say, honestly, it's about damn time.
Yes.
The last we heard about this project was in February when it was revealed the remake had possibly been in development since 2019. Unfortunately, we don't have any new details about the remake, but according to one of the industry's best sources, it's fucking real. According to comicbook.com, Jason Schreier confirmed the remake is real, but this is all he had to say about the project. While Schreier confirmed that the remake is indeed in development, he didn't confirm every previous report about the game. However, if the project did begin in 2019, it could be 2022 bound, though for now, this is just pure speculation and wishful thinking. Finally, Overwatch game director Jeff Kaplan leaves Blizzard. Why, Jeff? Why? Too soon. According to IGN, Overwatch game director Jeff Kaplan is leaving Blizzard Entertainment. The company announced the personal change on the game's official website Tuesday, naming Aaron Keller Overwatch assistant game director as Kaplan's replacement in the role. Kaplan was frequently the public face of Overwatch, appearing front and center in developer update videos at BlizzCon and at Overwatch League events. Blizzard did not specify why Kaplan was leaving, nor did Kaplan himself in a statement released on the Overwatch website. Probably Overwatch 2 delays, who knows. Keller, in his own statement, addressed the elephant in the room that Kaplan is leaving in the midst of Overwatch 2's development. Development on the sequel is continuing at a good pace. Keller said, and he promised more updates soon. Huge shakeup to the Overwatch team. It'll be interesting to see who the main next is. While the news from Blizzard is shocking, Dot, I know you're probably more stoked to hear about KOTOR being made, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, I think the new setup for Captain America, I think, is a good excuse for us to talk about this latest Falcon and Winter Soldier episode. And it was an absolutely incredible episode. It sets up an awesome new Captain America that we're familiar with, we know and love. And made that whole moment of passing the shield from the end of Infinity War a whole season worth of content, and good content too. Probably one of my favorite Marvel series that I've seen come out. I will say that although the suit is like comic book, like just absolutely, just straight from the comic book to a movie kind of adaptation. Yeah. I'm kind of a little bit like, the only complaint I have is his costume to me seems a little bit too flashy for the kind of tactile look that the old Captain America's had.
It's white.
It's white. It's got all this like these weird pockets on the neck that don't make sense. Why is his ears out? Why are his ears out? I don't understand why his ears are out. The ears are covered on every other superhero. Like, that's a thing, but also, his ears are out for some reason. I don't understand why that is the case. But outside of the looks of the character, right? Sam Wilson as a hero is absolutely amazing, and his abilities now, as with the shield and the wings, I'm super excited to see what Captain America 4 has in store for us.
That does not have an ear fetish.
I do not. No, you can check off.
It is. It's going to be really cool. I'm really excited to see this mesh of TV to movies that Disney's bringing out. Like, DC was too afraid to cast the kid who played Barry Allen in the Flash show on CW because they were like, oh, he's Barry Allen on TV.
Yeah.
He was a good Barry Allen. Like he was, like he would have been a fine Barry Allen in a movie. I don't get that whole like stigma in a way, right? And so it's nice to see Disney really going, yeah, fuck that. We're literally going to do a whole season of this that's going to then pour into a whole new movie, like of Captain America 4 with Sam as Cap. And no, it was a strong, very strong season finale, and super excited to see the more come out about Cap 4. My only beef's the costume too. I literally when it came out, I was like, "What the fuck is up with this costume? It's like all white. Like, what is he gonna do? Like, everybody's gonna be like, shit, there's Captain America."
So here's one point that Little Nelly is making in chat now too, and when I was watching it with them, they said the same thing, which is that maybe the costume is meant to be flashy. Like, it still looks good. To me, it looks good in a way that seems like he's very obviously a superhero, whereas the other ones were kind of like, we're giving a realistic look on superheroes, right? And so there was that emphasis on the realism part. And to me, this seems pretty detached from it. He seems like obviously if someone walks out in that outfit, they're obviously going to fight crime, Right. But
that's the thing too, right? Like, and I think like they even like kind of teased on that even like the earlier Avengers movie, right? Like, because Cap was wearing that damn suit and Iron Man was basically saying, "You look ridiculous," right? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, honestly, Iron Man was wearing the giant cybernetic suit of armor, but he also had it painted red and gold, so that's flashy as hell. That was meant to make it more flashy. So, and I feel like he's kind of a mix between like Falcon and he is Captain America now, but his abilities wise, like he's like elevated, right? He's like an elevated Falcon in his abilities. He's like and that to me is crazy. The scene at the end where he's coming down and he's descending and he has the angelic look there, that was amazingly shot, honestly. But I could ramble on and on about this. I am super excited about KOTOR being remade. I haven't actually played Knights of the Old Republic, but I have been playing the Old Republic, the MMO, and I played a little bit of it on Free Game Friday. You could check that stream out here on Geeklife Live.
How's the community looking on that thing? Is there still a lot of people playing it?
Yeah, there is. There's enough people playing it, and people jump on. And what was really cool is, like, I was really disappointed to hear that Knights of the Old Republic was a game that was separate from the Old Republic, because I wanted to play, the storyline with Revan and everything else like that. But lo and behold, in the Old Republic, I run into Revanites who are studiers of Revan and kind of like take his philosophy of being a Sith and a Jedi and all this cool stuff. And so and I end up like grabbing Revan's mask, and you guys can actually watch it on the stream. But it's really, really interactive with that. So I'm super duper excited to hear about the Knights of the Old Republic remake. I'm going to try to actually get a chance to stream the original version beforehand, but that game was made in 2003. That game was made when Bruce Almighty was coming out in theaters. Like, that's how old that game is.
I remember playing it when it came out. It's still one of those. It was one of the first games I remember Googling how to beat something, because there was a part in it that I was just like, bro, what? And like, I know that's a little late because it's 2013, but like, there's like, I used to buy actual game manuals and stuff, right? And so and I never played too many RPGs. And so it was one of the first ones that I was like, how the hell do I get past this? I loved Knights of the Old Republic. I'm super stoked for the remake. That's going to be crazy fun to play. You can literally play Knights of the Old Republic on everything right now. They even have it on iPhone. I don't suggest that. I highly suggest playing it on a console or your PC. But like, you can play it on your iPad.
Was like a banger year for games. Like Tony Hawk's Underground came out that year.
Super Smash Bros. Melee came out that year.
Prince of Persia, Underground, Need for Speed Underground came out that year.
Okay, Prince of Persia probably doesn't belong in that category.
No, Prince of Persia goes hard, bro. I'll die on that hill too.
You will?
Prince of Persia was like one of the great games.
Dude, that game went hard. It's so good. So good.
Yeah. I'm talking about like
Jake Gyllenhaal crushed the movie too.
Well, I wasn't gonna say the one off the movie. I was gonna say
Jake Gyllenhaal is
Crushed it.
That was a weird casting.
Jake Gyllenhaal
Right.
as the Prince of Persia. Yeah, perfect casting. Like,
What are you talking about?
I couldn't find an actual Persian prince.
Nicolas
so-
Cage is
they don't have any, you know. Like,
Right. It's just Nick
you know,
Cage,
I actually heard in the reboot they were going to get Scarlett Johansson.
That would make sense.
He's got range.
Kev, I know you got a lot of feelings on Jeff Kaplan leaving Blizzard. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I had been a pretty avid Overwatch player. I wasn't great at it. I wasn't good. I was a solid gold. You know, like I wasn't terrible. I wasn't great. I was just average. But I still really much enjoyed it. You know, me and my friends play all the time, and we're very much looking forward to Overwatch 2 because Overwatch right now is kind of dead. Like nothing's happening. There's no new content coming anytime soon because of Overwatch 2, except for like skins and shit. So, and recycled events. So it's kind of like, where are they going from here? Like, is it? I'm assuming he left. Had something to do with Overwatch 2. Maybe it's the stress of Overwatch, because the Overwatch community itself, from what I've heard, like I don't really interact with it. I don't really even give it a passing glance, but I've heard it's pretty toxic.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's. I'm sure if it's toxic all the way around, right, within the community and externally. So maybe that's something too, right? You have all these fucking guys coming and saying, "Stop nerfing this person, buff this person, blah blah blah." Like every time I see like they have to dress Jeff Kaplan up, and he has to dress like the public, like he's giving a fucking State of the Union address. You know, like I'm pretty sure that get wears on. He's like, "Damn, am I gonna do this on a new game for another 6 years?" Maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That,
Jake?
or it's one of those classic things where he got offered, you know, fat stack somewhere else that he thought may be less stressful, you know, like, and so like in a few weeks he's gonna announce that he works at like, you know, fucking who knows, like, you know, like some other game industry, and so, but it was I mean, shit, it's a big one. Like you said, with it being during development of, you know, Overwatch 2, it's pretty interesting. But you know, this guy's not actually the one getting his hands dirty building the game, so it shouldn't cause too many delays.
Right, you're losing leadership, but you're not losing the talent. It seems so. That's what, you know, that's what makes the shit. So,
well, wish him the best. That's for sure.
Yeah, we'll see where he ends up. And we'll see what happens with Overwatch 2. I know it's you know, going to be a pretty hype and highly anticipated game. So, you know, see how smooth that launch goes.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the news from Blizzard is definitely shocking, but there's a bigger story that we have this week.
Oh God.
Our story of the week is a crazy story about monkey-human hybrids. Alex Jones, the same monkey-human hybrids that Alex Jones has been going on over for years.
Oh God, now they're validating him.
He told us years ago.
He told us about years ago. That's why we need to check in with those gay frogs. You know, they're.
That's true too.
Yeah, that's another thing. Right?
There's pesticides that apparently are turning the frogs gay.
That's the thing. It's turning them all gay.
He's in your neck of the
Damn
woods,
gay
right?
frogs.
Yes.
Scientists have created embryos that are a mix of human and monkey cells with the aim of understanding about how cells communicate with others. Professor Juan Carlos teamed up with a group of scientists to conduct an unprecedented experiment that saw stem cells from humans injected into embryos from macaw monkeys for the first time. The lab-grown embryos were then studied for 19 days, with scientists reporting activity just after 1 day as they detected human cells growing in 132 of the embryos. NPR reported on the major scientific breakthrough, which provides important insight into animal cells and humans, how animal cells and human cells develop and communicate with one another. This finding could determine whether there could be a way to grow organs for transplantation, or given the demand for organs is so often higher than the supply. Belmont acknowledged the ethical concerns, but stressed that this team had only intended to create the embryo for research. Our goal is not to generate any new organism, any monster. Boom, 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 he explained. And we are not doing anything like that. We are trying to understand how cells from different organisms communicate with one another. If you're wondering which side of the debate social media falls on, it seems that a large number of the people are in the same thought pool. The Planet of the Apes could become a actual reality. Many on Twitter have jokingly expressed their concerns over the possibility of the fictional narrative coming to life, particularly the part about intelligent apes rising up against humans. Do you guys think this is the beginning of some horrifying sci-fi original?
Yeah, I think it's the next content for the new Ancient Aliens episode. I figured.
Yeah.
What the guy that's
We
like,
told you guys.
aliens. Like,
They
yeah.
did it first. They did it.
Aliens.
Yeah, you know, like I think of those memes, the science has gone too far memes.
Yeah.
That were like popular back in like 8 years ago or whatever. Like this, like why? Like I don't understand. They didn't explain why. Like our goal is to not generate any. Okay, then what is your goal? Like I don't. What
I
are
mean,
you trying?
they could generate organs for transplantation and stuff like that. That makes sense. I mean, like if
It's true.
but
yeah,
also the ethical side of it, you know, are you
Right.
making human monkey hybrids just strictly for organ transplants? I mean, that seems like a cruel existence for something that's probably
a
conscience.
lot of people forget the Soviet Union and KGB tried to create ape super soldiers. So you know, who knows? Like if this gets out, right? Like someone
Super
might.
Sasquatch man.
Someone
That was
on
like
TikTok,
a legit thing. Stalin was like, we need to do this. We need
Yeah.
to combine humans and gorillas so we can have stronger soldiers.
That's hilarious. Like that's fuck. I mean, I say hilarious, but it's terrifying because the
Yeah.
experiments on those were probably done on real gorillas and real people. But like,
Yeah.
what's crazy is this whole thing. Like, I mean, I get that it was just an embryo, so they weren't trying to. They were trying to basically test the water, right? But somebody on TikTok said, if they're telling us this, then what are they doing that we don't know? And I was like, yeah, that's probably true.
Right.
That's
right.
all like the case.
Like if
It's like,
they're
okay,
just now,
you guys caught us. We're making
yeah.
Sasquatch.
I feel like they've been playing like science, government, whoever the fuck. I say they as a blanket statement for like my crazy conspiracies, but whoever they is, they have been playing just the tip with us for a long time on aliens, and I feel like they're just now about to like bust that shit wide open because like because the Pentagon's coming out.
I mean, I feel like we're at least shaft deep now because like they've released some
That's what I'm
videos
saying.
and stuff.
No, I'm saying for years though. They denied them all the way from, you know, Area 51, all that shit. Like they denied it for a long time, and just now in the past couple years they've been like, you know what? We're going in. You know, like we're about to let them know about aliens,
All right.
right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like this is just them being like, oh yeah, you know, and we can make human monkey hybrids, but whatever. You know?
Yeah.
Like, but we didn't make one. We just made an embryo, and it's like, okay, yeah, sure, Mr.
Yeah,
Science.
sure. You just
Sure,
accidentally
you know.
made an embryo. Yeah.
Yeah, you just
In
tested
5 years, you're gonna see us being like, "What's that? It's Captain America."
Or it's like I'm gonna be replaced with the human monkey hybrid. Like,
Right.
It's a way better host. Like,
So many dark thoughts.
the new human monkey hybrid brain from Amazon.
They're just gonna replace. Yeah, never mind. That's too many dark ways this goes.
Right.
it
And
is
like,
an insane
yeah.
story because
I
it's coming around
also I
to
feel like in
people's-
2021 though, we need to preface this. Hey guys, we're joking. These aren't real. Don't believe in any conspiracy theories
Oh,
that
yeah.
we joke about.
yeah. That's true.
Oh no, I'm dead.
Don't go. I don't even. Yeah, they're gonna take that as code. So let's not do that.
Actually, if we joke about it enough, we'll get enough of a following, and then you actually become Alex Jones. Like I think that's how that
Right.
happens. Like you joke
Yeah.
about conspiracies, then people are like, "No, that's real, brother." You know, like and send you links and shit. And then like 10 years later, you're literally wearing a tinfoil hat, going like, "The frogs are gay." You know, like
Yeah.
Look,
But this
Littlest
is
Nelly and Extreme Greatness are pretty psyched about it though. Littlest Nelly says, "I fucking love Planet of the Apes," though, and Extreme Greatness says, "I want to have ape or chimp-like strength."
Planet of the
So
Apes.
maybe that becomes a possibility.
At least in my top 25. I love the Planet of the Apes franchise, so I love that shit. But the flip one is, and I was talking about this.
All right, we're on the wrong side of that.
Yeah,
movie.
yeah, I
Right.
know. It's a cool movie. I don't want to live in it.
I don't
but
know
like,
if you watched
still,
that movie, but it doesn't end well for the humans.
No.
James Franco in the movie. No, I'm just,
Okay.
it's okay for me.
Right.
But like
you're years behind on your like monkey training, and bonding with one, ape. Yeah, you need to be spending a lot more time bonding with your
growing
bridge
out
to
the hair and the
humanity.
beard though? I'm gonna look just like this fucking picture we have down here. They're gonna think I'm a Sasquatch. Like,
Right,
so
exactly.
he's one of us, apes together strong, and I'm gonna be like apes together strong. Let me in.
It's gonna be Jake with a shag rug, just ape strong,
like
together.
Small. He's kind of a weak ape.
Yeah.
But this
is
crazy
news.
He's
checking his smartwatch.
Yeah, no, right?
Yeah.
He's always on his phone.
And he's wearing shoes. So
Yeah.
he's wearing these really nice shoes.
And why is he wearing a Supreme headband?
But this is crazy news coming off of the news that we didn't get to cover last week about Elon Musk's technology to allow monkeys to play Pong. So now we've got, and if you guys haven't seen that one, essentially Neuralink is this new thing that Musk is playing around with. They tested it. They got monkeys that can play Pong with their brain now. And they're telling us, not the same people, but other people now have monkey-human hybrid embryos. So like, these aren't just going to be monkey-human hybrids. This is going to be monkey-human hybrids that can control technology with their brains. That's where we're headed.
Extreme Greatness is going deep with the conspiracy theories. The moon landing was fake. CIA made AIDS. Never mind, the CIA didn't make AIDS.
We're going to get the streams getting taken down. What are you doing? Quit telling the truth.
I don't like, and I'm a science aficionado, but I'm always like, just because we can do something doesn't mean we should.
The reason why they're doing this is because they feel like if it's some kind of like monkey human hybrid that's not like 100% human, like a clone would be, that he may be able to digest that easier. Because like the whole reason for the clone boom in the 90s was to make clones of us that we could then take organs from, essentially.
Right.
Like that was a big thing. Like, because I mean, that's legit. The lack of organs for people who need organ donors, that's a real problem. And so they're trying everything they can to figure that out.
But can you imagine that existence being like, waking up and be like out of a tube, be like, oh, what am I? I was like, nah, you're just a clone. We're here for your lungs. Be like,
well, that's the thing though.
I just pictured Jake like walking into a dark room, like a morgue, and then pulling out like out of a box, like one of his bodies, and just going.
I would treat clones like shit. I would literally just bust open tanks of them. Like, all right, got to crash this program.
My biggest worry,
urban organ farmer.
My biggest worry about the dilemma of clones and of me interacting with my clone has always been, would I fuck my clone?
Oh.
And I think the answer is yes, and I just don't know how to reason with myself on that.
I don't know if that's narcissistic or like.
I think it's got to be at least a little bit narcissistic. Yeah, I feel like it's not a normal conclusion for one person to come to, but I think about it a lot, guys.
Next time you're in therapy, you should maybe bring
this one up.
You should bring that one. Honestly, I think that's a great psychiatrist prompt.
That is a good one. Just to see,
what does that make you feel? I have a lot of sexual feelings towards. Okay.
It's kind of like jerking off in the mirror. Oh, well.
Right.
But now we're getting into some shit that's going to definitely get us taken off Twitch. So.
Right.
But yeah.
Anyways,
it's like you would have to. Okay. So this is kind of. I guess did you guys see this story about the battle of the Joshes?
Yes, that was a big one this week too. Yeah, we didn't cover it because
kind of like that. With your
it was pop culture, I guess. We should have put it in the news. It was big news. There was a huge battle of the Joshes this week. So I just thought the human monkey hybrid was a better top story.
I think so.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about there. There's just a lot to unpack with the human monkey hybrid thing.
Yeah.
Extreme Greatness, I'll be like, okay, give me the super monkey genius clone body, and downtown my consciousness is in the body, and I'm going to restart life. Basically transmit your body in between. That you're getting all kinds of sci-fi in here. But hey, maybe that's possible with Elon Musk's
Neuralink.
Brain controlled Neuralink Pong controller.
I just don't want ads running through my head.
Like, you don't get them all right?
You or a loved one suffered from mesothelioma.
Look,
you're only going to get that if you don't have a
just upgrade to
subscription
Prime.
Yeah. I was going to say you gotta just get Prime.
Right.
Like Apparently, Bill Gates has made a microchip that is it's a birth control microchip, and it's not a joke. It's I don't know if he reads memes about himself. It's kind of it's an unfortunate timing for things, but just imagine like getting hacked, and then
I
you
mean, a
have like
birth control microchip. I could see some people that like I know a couple people that probably want to be chipped.
If
Yeah.
Bill
You
Gates
know.
came out with a microchip this year that could cure cancer, people still would be like, "I told you, he's trying to put the chip in you." He's trying. Like,
It's true.
That's true.
True.
That's true.
oh man,
All right. Well, that will wrap it up for our headlines and our
Geek Life.
top story.
home of your favorite conspiracies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll wrap up all that monkey business, but tis. Anyways, we've got an even better segment for you. We're going to talk now about the new Mortal Kombat trailer.
Geek Life reacts. Mortal Kombat
Yeah.
movie. HBO.
That one, Geeklife reacts Mortal Kombat. Boom. Yes,
We're in.
that one. There. Mortal Kombat, the blood-soaked adaptation of the popular video game, grossed a sizable, at least for the pandemic, $9 million on Friday, and is headed towards an opening weekend of $18 million to $19 million, which is huge. That's impressive given a huge public health crisis, and it is notable because it carries an R rating. Which is somewhat limiting of its potential audience. The film is screening in 3,073 venues, as well as every HBO Max subscriber in the world. As of today, MK is sitting at an impressive 86% audience score with a 56% rotten overall at Rotten Tomatoes. But we're not Rotten Tomatoes tonight, and we wanted to give our first takes and review of Mortal Kombat. And Kev, I know that you just got off of watching Mortal Kombat. Why don't you take it away with you first on what you thought about it?
So my expectations for this were pretty high, just off the trailer. It looked like, and also giving the sort of benchmark that was set by the previous Mortal Kombat in the 90s. I'm like, man, this has to be good, at least decent. The reality was, it was borderline. What did I just watch? The fights were great. The choreographed fights were great. They were amazing. That was about it for me. The worst part was that, aside from none of it really making any sense, it was a little cheesy. You know, it felt like fan lip service. You know, and I think. This seems to be a trend. Maybe it's just, you know, the where we at in the content, where it's like we have this it's not really a spectrum of content anymore. It's like overly produced CGI action movies and depressing as fuck documentaries. Like that's where we are in content right now. So I choose the escapism. I don't need to be reminded that life can suck. So you know, depression does that for me. So. But that being said, I felt it felt rushed. It was like, we're gonna do a Scorpion and Sub-Zero's clan rivalry origin story, and then we're gonna throw everything together and see what happens. Like it felt things progressed too fast for me. Like it was very. It had a lot of. I had Batman versus Superman vibes with this, where it was like the aesthetics were kind of nice. It had potential because you had all the material there. You could go in so many different directions, and then they went with like chosen soul midi-chlorians, basically. Like
That you pass on.
You can only get powers if you have this birthmark. They don't really explain where the birthmark comes from, except for Cole. And you were chosen, but they don't say by who and why. You know, it was okay, borderline. It's not so great. If I had to give it a grade out of 10, I'd probably give it a 5. You know, I try to look at it through an objective lens. Like, if I didn't have any context behind Mortal Kombat, no knowledge of Mortal Kombat, would I have enjoyed this movie? And the answer would have been no. I would have been like, what the fuck did I just watch?
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna follow up with that because I agree with you. I'm gonna go in reverse order. I give it a 5 out of 10 as well, and I think that there's a lot of stuff that I agree with you on. I think the Arcana thing was an interesting concept. I think it could have been done well, but it
Yeah.
wasn't. It's Kano discovering he can shoot lasers out of his eyes at the dinner table. That kind of thing was just, to me, really, like, it was a weird way of building those things, and it's the first time we've ever had an Arcana kind of, it was a weird My Hero Academia approach to Mortal Kombat, in my opinion. There's so much to work with in the Mortal Kombat world, right? Because you have the Lin Kuei, you have this like kind of feudal kind of realm, you have the Nether realm, which is hell, you have Outworld, which is like this fantasy world with these alien, war ogre creatures stuff. And like, the cool thing about Mortal Kombat is, like, it is a game where you can have a robot versus a reptile fight, and then the next match is, Sonya Blade versus Sub-Zero, something that's completely different and is really kind of weaving these different stuff together. And to me, they really just kind of fell in on that. They didn't really use it very much. We got very little of Outworld. We got very little Outworld lore. We got very little understanding of some of even the cool characters that they built behind them. They set up Minerva as a really cool character. Here's my prize fighter, and dies in like 20 seconds. Raiden, I thought, was super lame. I do like that they finally, didn't cast a white guy as Raiden, but I thought this Raiden was super unimpressive.
I knew that was a reason I can't
interfere with Earth. Let me teleport you guys somewhere.
Right. He was just super lame, and Raiden is a huge heavy hitter in Mortal Kombat. And what the fuck is Cole King? Who is this character thing? I don't understand why I should care about this character. I don't understand his Power Ranger suit, this weird like reject looking, metal suit that shoots, like, I don't get it.
I think he's from this game Mortal Kombat Armageddon. I could be wrong. I could be just reaching, but
no, I believe he was a new character that they made for the movie, particularly.
Oh, okay. Well, I remember in like Mortal Kombat Armageddon, like and that game wasn't so great either, so I don't know why. But there was like a story mode where you basically create your fighter, kind of, and maybe that's what it was. Like, it was kind of like the same thing where
Well,
he was like our fighter in a way.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that just I couldn't vibe with it. Scorpion being a hero, Scorpion is a literal hellspawn that is bent on nothing on revenge. And the whole point about Scorpion's dichotomy is that, like, his revenge that he's trying to exact, the way that he goes about it makes you question whether or not he's a good guy or a bad guy. And they very unequivocally made him like this hero. I did have some shining moments there. I think my favorite line in the entire movie was Kano when Sonya was like, "Oh yeah, you could help us with that." It goes, "Oh yeah, go ahead, write this down. Get fucked." I just thought that line was delivered well. I think Kano was a great comedic relief throughout the movie. Really bridged the story in a lot of different spots. He didn't really do anything other than just provide comedic relief. Cabal, loved seeing Cabal. Cabal is one of my mains, and I think that he came through really well.
Dope.
Cabal came through and he was gritty, and he was raw. Like, he wasn't afraid to cuss or anything else like that. Right. Like, he was, it was fucking badass, and that's exactly how Cabal should be. Most of the fight scenes were really interesting. I think what I expected was to get something better than what we previously got, and what we got was what we previously got with a more diverse cast.
I get
and that's how I felt on the movie. But I feel, Jake, you have a little bit different feelings on Mortal Kombat, so tell us what you think.
Yeah, so I mean, I was a fan of the 90s movies. I liked them. And so I was super excited whenever they were rebooting the franchise. I kind of had low expectations going in because I know a lot of people think the older movies weren't the greatest. And so, I mean, I haven't watched them since I was a kid, and I don't plan on it. Like I think the medium, when you watch it, how you remember it is how it should be remembered. Don't remember Granddad on his deathbed. Remember him taking you fishing.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's fair.
And so, that's how I like to remember my entertainment, baby. And so I have pleasant memories of the old Mortal Kombat movies, and I'm not going to taint that by watching it again.
There you go.
But so this movie, honestly, it went above my expectations because I had kind of set the bar a little low, thinking like, oh man, this is going to be really bad. I thought the lore was pretty cool, even though, they were setting up for sequels. Obviously, the ending was like, hey, look at us. We're going to have multiple movies of this. It was a well shot action movie. I thought like overall the action was what I was there for, and it's what it gave me. Right. Yeah. The fight scenes were dope. That's what I was there for. It gave me dope fight scenes. And so it's kind of everything that I really wanted out of a reboot. Now, I would definitely say that it was rushed. That was probably one of my big things too. Out of the like worst parts of it, it was super rushed. I felt like the story, they could have taken more time. Like, give me a Snyder cut, like, like the whole time. Long. No, and it was already long, but I guess
Look, now that we're watching this at our house and it's free and like I can pause it and take a smoke break, like give me a 4-hour movie. Fuck it, I can take a piss break. I can pause now.
The second person that I heard that said I started it this first night and then I finished it the next day, and it's like I don't think that's how movies are meant to be watched. So that's the bad part about being able to stream at home. Like I think it takes you out of it, and when you get back into it, you're almost more critical.
But if it's great, you don't want to be taken out of it. I think that's the problem.
That's true too. That is true.
And I think
because I did watch the whole Snyder cut.
Yeah, right. And I've noticed like a trend here, and maybe it's just maybe it's just the way the formats are. But I feel like a lot of shows now are better than movies. Like I can't remember the last time I seen really great movie. Yeah. And I'm wondering now if it's because shows you have like series, you have so much room for error because you have time for it to grow and mature, and it can become something, and then you can still leave a little bit on it to chew on, for like a second season or whatever. But a movie, you kind of have one shot to get it right.
Well, and to build on that, Kev, I mean, with Captain Falcon and Winter Soldier, I mean, in a world where that TV series doesn't exist, right? But the franchise still wants to go in that direction. The franchise still wants Sam Wilson to become Captain America. All that becomes is Cap passes him the shield, and in the next movie he has the shield, right? We already know Captain America 4 is there, and we have that. We don't get all of that content that we just got. And to be able to go through that whole point, I mean, like there was so many people at the beginning of like we talk about this on our TikTok page. There's a lot of people that were attacking Straw Hat Goofy, he's a great content creator on TikTok. I would highly recommend going and checking out his content because he's got great reviews, particularly of Falcon and Winter Soldier. But attacking him because he was saying that, pointing out the racial aspects of this show. And Feige eventually at some point during one of the press conferences later on here is like, yes, this show is directly about the fact of Captain America being black and the evolution of what that looks like from what it was to there. Everything that Straw Hat Goofy was been pointing out along this whole time about like, when Falcon gives when Sam Wilson gives the shield over to the general at the beginning and he says, you're doing the right thing, son, and then immediately gives it to John Walker. Right. Yeah. That was a microaggression, and people attacked Straw Hat Goofy for it, saying you're being crazy about this. Until finally, you get to that point where Feige's saying it in a press interview, and you get to have that drawn out conversation. If he just passed him the shield, to bring this all the way back around to what my original point was, if he just passes him the shield and in the next movie he's there, you don't get any of that conversation.
No.
And I think that conversation's worth having. Yeah. And I think so. I was thinking about that a lot as TV being a better medium than movies in that regard.
Yeah. That's true. No, I mean, it really is. And that's why, like, honestly, like, I feel like this movie could have been 2 movies. And they're already showing you with the ending of Mortal Kombat here that, like, you're going to get a second movie. Essentially, they're like, hey, look, Johnny Cage may be in the second one, right? We're going to keep following these people to find their powers. So if you're already planning on doing a sequel, just anticipate making 2 movies. Do Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 for all I give a fuck. Like, you know what I mean? Like, do it like that. Like, because it was just super rushed. That's the worst part of it. The best part, the Kung Lao Saw hat fucking fatality.
That was my
shit
favorite.
was dope, man. That was so much fun to
yeah.
watch on the big screen. I mean, even though it was at my house, but like on TV, there wasn't a video game, like just CGI that shit, like everything fucking mint. The Sub-Zero ripping off Jax's arms, that origin story thing. What?
That was cool.
I thought that was a pretty cool way of Jax getting his powers and everything, and it makes a
I
grudge
don't know,
there.
man. And when he came in with the little rinky-dink
That shit
C-3PO
was
arms
funny.
there for a little while,
And then his power was that the
when
arms
that they
grew.
became
so
flex.
that
Oh
part's
man,
stupid. But the ripping of the arms and the origin story, super cool. And so
okay.
the
So
Sub-Zero
half of
Scorpion
that story
fight,
though is
Cabal was sick.
Yeah.
Like I still thought Cabal was like the dopest thing in the whole movie. Like his every fight scene with him was fun to watch just because of the teleportation, him just fucking around in general. I'm gonna push back and say, and the director came out and said the only reason they didn't have Johnny Cage in this fucking movie was because they were gonna have Kano in this movie and they didn't want to have too much comic relief. Okay, fuck Kano. Like that shit. Like
Kano was the best part of that movie, though.
Give me Johnny Cage. I want a Johnny Cage. That's my comedic relief. And so anyway, I guess I'll be more excited for the other one. But yeah, no. So I had a different. I think the fatalities in the fights were 10 out of 10. Like if you're coming to watch a high action fatality fight Mortal Kombat movie, those things, those were great, right? But the whole movie and its choppy story, all of that stuff, kind of bogged it down. And so I ended up giving it just an 8 out of 10 because I thought it was a lot of fun to watch.
Too generous. You were too generous.
No, okay, but one more beef, and I know it's gonna sound like I may jump down. I may drop it down.
10 movie.
Reptile. Why can't they get this man right?
I know. I was thinking the same
video
thing.
Games. He's literally another one of the clans. He's a green ninja that has a reptile head.
In the game, in the games now, he is a monster. He's a creature.
What I grew up with. So
he can still talk and communicate with everybody.
Yeah, he's still
a creature.
Like in this movie, he was just a lizard.
Yeah, I feel you there.
You know what I mean? Like even like he became more reptilian over time, but he was still like a sentient reptilian.
I just want to sit down with the directors of not just the 90s, but this current one and just go, who the fuck told you to make Reptile some stupid lizard that just goes on and dies in the first 10 minutes? Like, I used to whoop people's ass with Reptiles. Yeah. Like, I put in some fucking work with Reptile. That dude's dope. Yeah. I don't get why no Reptile was trash and no Johnny Cage. That's two of my biggest beefs with it. So, yeah, I'm dropping it down to a 7.
Okay, there you go. We knocked you down to a 7. Sad Gaming gives it a 2.5 out of 10. Yeah, I thought 5 out of 10 was being generous to it too, man. I felt afterward there was a lot of times, especially going from watching Falcon and Winter Soldier to watching that.
No, I guess everybody's a critic, you know. Like,
I mean, everybody is.
I go into movies knowing what I'm getting. Like, I didn't expect this to be Quentin Tarantino or like some deep ass fucking Scorsese.
I remember when we walked out of Batman versus Superman, you still had the popcorn in your hand and be like, I don't know, man, it wasn't that bad. And I was like, what are you talking about?
I love movies. I love movies. And I've actually fuck, dude, I went to college for the first half for film and production and then switched it to PR. And so it's just one of those things where I know how hard people work on that stuff too. Yeah. And so I always it's like waiters. I get a bad waiter sometimes and I still tip them 20%. And I'm just like, and so I don't know. I like to spread more positivity. So when I tell you something shit, you know it's garbage too. Right. That's the biggest thing. So, that's the flip side of it.
Jake's the nice judge of our panel.
Yeah,
right?
I try to be. I'm the what was her name? Paula on fucking.
Yeah, that's what I think it was. I was trying to figure out who it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I think the problem is, and I've seen this a lot, where it's like these movies try to live in have their world but exist outside in the real world, and I think these blendings don't mesh right. Like that's why they came in with the whole Arcana thing, right? They're like, how can we explain people with supernatural abilities? Oh, they just attain them somehow. I mean, that's a supernatural feat in itself. Just let it exist in its own way. Don't try and explain it, and then just build the story off that.
You guys want to hear my pitch to how
they're trying to make it. They're trying to make it seem like this could really happen. And this shit can't, and that's okay.
You guys want to hear my pitch to rewrite this movie?
For Earth.
Yeah, go for it.
Here's my pitch to rewrite this movie, okay? 1, all right, you don't have anything going. Nobody's hunting anybody in Earth realm or anything like that. You have Raiden gathering people for the Mortal Kombat because Shao Kahn's entering the Mortal Kombat. You make as a tournament, right? you make Shang Tsung the leader of the tournament. Maybe he's going to give his entire army of souls to the winner of there. You can't have Shao Kahn get it because Shao Kahn's going to rule the world, do some Thanos stuff, right? And Raiden's got to pull them over to the training arena, and you can still have the Arcana shit, right? You can still have the markings, but it has more sense taking place in Outworld in those tournaments, training strictly for a tournament, right? Than this weird cat and mouse spy game that they had, right? Yeah. You have Scorpion as a villain who's actually hunting Sub-Zero and gives no shits about anything else other than hunting Sub-Zero because that's Scorpion. And you do the minor things to fix some of these characters, and I think you have a much better movie. You have the budget for it, you know?
I thought the casting was good too. That is another thing that I will give it props on. Yeah. I thought like overall the cast was good.
I mean, you could have asked Ronda Rousey to be Sonya Blade. She did do the modeling for Sonya Blade.
Yeah, I mean you could, but then you could have also probably. I mean, she may be a terrible actress, like bad.
Maybe
she's not the best. I saw her in Fast and Furious, and she wasn't great.
Oh, yeah? She Fast and the Furious? Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought the girl they got to do Sonya looked pretty good for Sonya.
I thought that was a good Sonya Blade. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the casting was all around pretty well. I mean, my biggest beef with it is its story, and I get a lot of people go to movies for story, but like sometimes I just go because I want to just zone out and watch fucking crazy shit, and this one has that. Like I said, the hat scene alone was worth the admission price. If you had to buy a movie ticket to see this, I wouldn't have been disappointed just because of that fatality.
Yeah.
Just for me.
Yeah.
Shit was sick.
Also,
look it up on YouTube.
On it.
My thing is this. I don't know if
Zach
anybody
can go
else...
off on it too. He's naturally negative. I've never heard a positive thing about anything. So like we're
Goro looks
I'm always talking about how great things are, and all I hear is Zach going, "It's garbage."
You know what though? Like my thing is okay. So when Shang Tsung just showed up after Sub-Zero, spoiler alert, got killed, right? And then Raiden was like, "Get the fuck out of here! Go back to Outer World," and teleported him out. Why the fuck didn't he just do that from the beginning?
Yeah. I mean,
did they explain that? Like I thought when I saw that, I was like, "Is that a plot
here's another thing
I
that
don't remember them
too.
saying he just couldn't have done that from the beginning."
You were talking about Reptile being like this big lizard alien when he's really like a ninja kind of thing. Melina was done dirty. Okay, Melina is her powers and abilities, her jaws is because she's Terrakian or something, whatever. Yeah. She's a certain race from Outworld. She's not human, right? And they made that ability. They just completely humanized her and made her, that like her jaw is part of her Arcana ability, and that is drastically changing her character. I thought that was awful. Sad Gaming mentioned Goro. Goro looked like Sumo Machamp.
I thought Goro looked good.
You thought he looked good? I thought he looked weird.
That scene I thought was pretty well done overall. That was not like terribly, but like I mean I get the plot holes. There are a lot of them. They're like the plot's not good, and how they set up some of it's just not good. But like I didn't go to it for that. I went to it to see some cool fatalities, and each fight felt just like a fight scene pulled right from the game. All the fatalities felt pretty like like I've seen some of them. I've pulled some of them off, and so
there's a bicycle kick.
For that reason, that shit was sick too. Yeah. So for that reason, I'm not gonna hate on it. That's what I came here for.
Did look better than he did in the original movie.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we got Jake down to a 7 with our cynical.
That's as low as you're getting me. I'll give it a 7.
That's as low as we're getting him. That'll about do it for our the first half of our show. We're gonna take a quick break, and we will be back with more Geek Life in a bit. But definitely stick around. But when we come back, we're gonna be talking about final boss leadership and entertainment. We're gonna be talking about the best boss battles and so much more. So stick around. It should be a pretty cool conversation coming up.
A boss level one.
A boss level conversation. SAG is still going at it. We'll be back with that and more of. As we discussed earlier, Overwatch director Jeff Kaplan is leaving Blizzard Entertainment in the middle of developing Overwatch 2. This ruffled some feathers mostly because it could impact potentially Overwatch 2. You could have a lot of impact on a new game, especially with big leadership leaving out like that. And Overwatch fans are right to be worried. I know Kev is. Leadership in the entertainment industry can make or break a product. And tonight, we're talking about legendary leaders who have helped shape pop culture as we know today, the challenges that they face, and what makes them big bosses. First off, let's just start off with, who are some key leadership figures that you feel have shaped the video game industry and film industry as well. Jake.
I mean, the big one, obviously, the father of, or the big daddy Nintendo, Miyamoto, as far as like, the father of Link and Mario, and who else? Like, and so like, obviously one of the best thought leaders, creators, everything all around in video game and history. Kevin Feige, man, he's been crushing it at Marvel, and I think just handing him the reins and letting him do his thing, that just goes to show like what great leadership and creativity can do. And Stan Lee, Bob Lazar, those are some big ones from obviously back in the day that were titans of industry that pretty much made a lot of the characters and things that we know and love today. And then a more recent one that I put on my list was Dan Harmon. Like as far as like entertainment's concerned, especially like, with two of my favorite shows coming from the guy, Community and Rick and Morty, it's just interesting how many people he's affected, and then Solar Opposites, which is Justin Roiland, is now becoming one of my other favorite shows. I've really enjoyed. Really good. The second season was phenomenal in my opinion. Yeah. And so it's one of those things where, and that's to me, Justin Roiland, while he's his own creative and everything like that, like obviously Dan Harmon had some rub off, anyway, phrase. But Dan Harmon definitely affected him and how he thinks about things, and that's why Solar Opposites I believe is why it's as good as it is because of people like Dan Harmon being a leader within entertainment. Right. And so those are some of my big ones.
Kevin, what about you?
I gotta echo that Miyamoto pick, the first sure. Yep. Like, no discussion there. Reggie feels aim staying in the Nintendo, right? Got all our bodies ready.
Yeah. He, I think, recently left, I believe.
He did about a year ago, yeah. Kind of sad about that. I mean, Nintendo's fine, but it's just having Reggie there. Seeing Reggie's face just makes me smile. I don't know why. Like, seeing that guy, just get happy.
Yeah, Reggie's good one.
Yeah. Sean Layden, former PlayStation boss. A lot of people have been there's been a lot of outcry to bring him back because they've been sort of unhappy with some of the more recent content and I guess direction with future content Sony's been going with a lot of remakes, and saying that Sean Layden's sort of philosophy it was just about making quality content in games, where now it feels like Sony's going after a lot of cash grabs in some people's eyes. And then staying in the consoles, Phil Spencer. God, the man basically saved Xbox, because when the Xbox One was about to drop, it almost dropped right out of existence with all the shit that was going on with it being region locked, it having to be like the Kinect being so integral that it won't function without it. All this other bizarre things going on, that it was always going to be an always online console. And then him coming from a PR background, shout out to Jake, and then basically just running the show at Xbox. You see where it's at now with cloud gaming and streaming, and things like even just the online service. Like, you don't even need a membership to play like free to play games anymore. That was all basically spearheaded by Phil Spencer.
Their move to be more of the software that powers gaming more so than like the exclusive kind of, like gaming console kind of a thing. Like, their idea to be like more inclusive, and Phil's kind of like being like, yeah, let's roll with it. Like, that shit, it's definitely been a game changer for Xbox. He made a good moves. I mean, Sony's making great moves too. I don't want to console war it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's just one of those where like you nailed it when you said the guy who saved Xbox, because we were headed down a bad path.
Yeah, that was rough. I gotta echo the stuff on Nintendo leadership side. Even though Nintendo has made some decisions, I mean, we can pick apart Nintendo's decisions all day, and I think we actually did an episode where we did pick apart a lot of Nintendo's decisions. You should go check that out. I believe it was 64 Reasons We Love You is the name of the episode.
Early. That was an early one.
That was an early one. Yeah.
Good callback though. Good callback.
Yes. And Miyamoto, and especially Reggie. I mean, I've always called Nintendo, and I said it in that episode, the Willy Wonka of games. And Reggie, for the longest time, was the closest thing to the Willy Wonka of games. He would always come out and he would be like, thanks, whoever that was that just announced.
Yeah.
All right, you've played video games before, but have you ever played video games where you're actually involved with your hands and they come out here and you're like, how about what if you were Link and you could throw your sword around? I'm like, I would fucking love that, Reggie. I would go crazy over that, Reggie. That's what I would do. And that's what he was like for a long time. And that was the stage presence that he had, and that's what he did for the gaming industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
yeah, there's not much. Yeah, I think everyone's in agreement on that.
Yeah. I miss him. I
wish he'd come back. Right. But on the other side of things, the Whedon versus Snyder cut is a perfect example of how good leadership not only creates better art, but excites the team and attracts them towards working you in the future. What do you think the Snyder cut tells us about leadership in film?
That execs want to feel creative because their suits sometimes, right? I think
that's a big degree of it.
Yeah, you hear this all the time where it's like, oh, well, why didn't we put this in? And they're like, well, the higher ups basically said the audience, the market wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
But it's like, what do they know? Like, what? There's no real. There's not a metric for this, and I think they try to like make everything so quantitative that it really compromises the soul of whatever creative IP is trying to come out, right? Like that's why you see shows run on too long or they go on some like crazy ass direction. It's because somewhere upstairs is execs, instead of like, checking the books and making sure the money's coming in the film, and they're like, you know what, I think we got to do, we need to put some more Pepsi branding in there. We got to put this Mercedes Benz in there.
Right.
And then we just gotta, make someone go in a completely different direction. Make Jon Snow completely useless now. It's got to be. And I think they want to get too involved because they're not involved in creating it, right? And I think, and you hear it a lot, like these untold stories of ego trips between like executives and the creatives.
I mean, I think it is a cliche to say execs want to feel creative because they're suits, but there is a 100% an element of truth. I mean, not an element of truth to that. There's a solid truth to it. There is a capitalistic approach to creativity that I think I think Warner Brothers has suffered from it probably more than anybody else. I think that is a lot of what you can see that derailed a lot of the stuff that's going on with the DC cinematic universe. Yep. I think that what a lot of times, the decisions are made off of, well, we know this plus this equals money, so do that, versus allowing storytellers to have the full breadth of their work, tell stories.
Yeah.
And they're also playing, as we saw with the Whedon cut, there is a politics that they play even with the actors there, that is not just at the detriment. Before, when we didn't have instances like the Snyder cut, we never knew that we were losing that, right? We never know we lost the Snyder cut because we never saw the Snyder cut. Yeah. But now that we're in a post-Snyder cut world, we can see that we have a perfect example of a situation where there was a instance where there was retribution taken on the actor that didn't just suffer the consequences of the actor, which should alone be enough to, merit what's happening to Josh Whedon now. But on the second end of it, on the other end of it, on a completely just purely content side of it, you're robbed of a lot of great content and a lot of great material and a lot of great, possibilities for this future. I want to see what Zack Snyder's plan for the DC universe could look like now because of what was available. And I had no real interest in seeing what Whedon could do. It was what Whedon could salvage, after that movie. Right. So, Jake, same question to you. What do you think the Snyder cut tells us about leadership in film?
I mean, it's kind of a lot of the same things as, the best leaders listen to their creatives. You hire good people to do good work. You don't hire them for you to do their work for them. You know what I mean? And so that's always like one of the hardest things for executives to balance is like the need to be kind of like in everything, but then also trusting the people that you brought on to do it. Right. Right. Like the reason why we didn't get the Snyder cut in the first place was because WB had a leadership problem and still has a leadership problem for the most part.
They do.
why hire insanely talented creators and then push them to do something that they didn't even want to make? That's what's the most ridiculous thing about it. It hurts the art and it hurts the audience. So no one wins in that situation.
Right.
And the executives think that just because they've stuck to the formula that, it's going to pump money. But here's the thing. Everything's formulaic. Don't get me wrong. The hero's journey, most everything follows that path. The story of Luke is the story of Jesus, is the story of Frodo, is the story, and so it's the hero's journey, right? And so that's, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but it's allowing creatives to just, flex and get in there and make what's essentially something that we've all known. We've all been told stories and they've all kind of followed this pattern, right?
Yeah. Right.
But to make that their own, And so that's the biggest thing is, I do got to give them kudos for noting that they fucked that up and letting the Snyder Cut become a thing, putting millions of dollars behind it, trying to kind of I guess, fix that issue. But, it was years later and they've already kind of said that they don't plan on letting Snyder finish his version of that universe. Like you said, the whole DC universe from Snyder's perspective, I kind of think it may be dead. Which sucks because I think the Snyder Cut did well, and I think I enjoyed the Snyder Cut more. But it's just leadership has to do better, and you have to listen to your creatives. I think that's the biggest things that the Snyder Cut taught me, and it's something that I knew before, but it's just something that was so evident whenever you watched the second version of that movie and went, "Damn, this is 4 hours, and it's literally 10 times better."
Right, and the interesting thing about it is that. To even bring back even more previous conversations we've had on Geek Life, Warner Brothers was the same people that made this big executive decision at the end of 2020 to the reason why we all saw Mortal Kombat this weekend, right? Even though some of us saw it in theater. I think did anyone see it in theaters, or we all saw it?
I watched it. I watched Demon Slayer in theaters.
Demon Slayer in theaters, right. So but better people could see it in theaters, right? But everyone's been able to see it this weekend, right? There's no worry about it because it's available to everybody on HBO.
Right.
And we had so many directors that were incredibly pissed off about that because of the prestige of what they'd lost. Yeah. And, back then, especially, I was looking at that as, look at these snooty rich billionaires whining about not being able to make another yacht. And I still think that to a degree. Don't get me wrong. Okay. There's still a degree of me that's fuck them, Yeah. It's still a degree of me that wants to say, oh yeah, I've got a situation for that. Write this down. Get fucked. But on the other hand, there is a degree of understanding that, after, if you're in a position like Zack Snyder's been in, where you've been kind of creatively ball and chained from making what the actual vision that you wanted to see, and then you see not only that, a bastardized version of it go out and really take the heat on you. It doesn't take the heat on Warner Brothers, right? It takes the heat on the director that's making that material, the leader in that situation. I can understand why they'd be mad at the people, why those bosses would be mad at the bosses above them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's true. And I think that's the other thing, right? For a lot of these executives, there's no real accountability, or public accountability at least, because no one's going to know who behind the scenes decided to make that decision unless some shit leaked, right? Like you said, the directors, the actors, everyone whose face is being seen or associated or name is on it, is going to take more of the heat if it goes bad than if it goes good. And I think that's the thing. And at the end of the day, the executive's job is to make money. It's not to make a great product. Yeah. Does a great product translate to making money? Majority of the time, yes. Right. But what makes money majority of the time is great marketing and brand awareness, right?
Yeah.
Hype.
Yeah.
Every industry has its unique challenges, especially for leaders, right? What are some unique challenges that leaders in film, TV, and video games have to face, Jake?
I mean, kind of alluding to what I said earlier, you're working with creatives. So, you've got to try to sell a product that you want to reach the largest audience possible, but then also work with people who have a definite goal of something they want to create, and it may not be reaching 1 million people, right?
Right.
And so it's honestly, to me, I think it's kind of unique to the entertainment industry because so much pop culture is being produced within its kind of intended niche left behind, right? They're like, originally this was supposed to be made for this audience, or like Mortal Kombat may have been at one time just something for like a movie for gamers to go see, right? Like people who actually only liked Mortal Kombat. Somewhere around the line, though, they thought like, we have to make this movie appeal to more people. Like it can't just be for the gamers. We can't just go by like the game story. Same thing happens a lot of times in comic book movies, anything like that, where like, the original comic's better than whatever bullshit kind they made from it. If they just would have stuck to what the original creative made, than trying to get crazy with it. But, they kind of have to try to balance, like, are you creating something for millions, or do you create something for less people, but with a more hardcore fan base, right? Like, kind of like people who are much more closer to it. And so I think, not that many industries have to satisfy core groups of people and then also sell to millions of people at the same time. Because they're trying their best to say, okay, here's fan service for the real people that love this shit. But then also here's a movie that you can go see with your friends on a Friday, for like people who may not be into it, right? And so, but some people do fucking great at it. Look at Deadpool. I think that's a great example of one that like even the fans of the comic were like, this is good. And then even like normal Joe that had never heard of fucking Deadpool went, this is good. And so it's just one of those where like when it's good, And so, but I think that's one of the big unique challenges that, the entertainment, TV, movies, video games, they all face that, where they're making something to make millions of dollars because that's the goal. But then they're also trying to make something for a small niche of people that are going to enjoy it, but then also tons of other people who may be more casual.
Right. Kev, what same question to you. What are some challenges that the entertainment industry faces as far as leadership goes?
Yeah, I think kind of echoing off what Jake was saying, where it's like, how do you find the balance between making sure that you're going to capitalize on this as much as possible without compromising the creativity of the people you put in place to execute like the perfect vision for this, whatever content you're trying to put out. And I think that's where you see a lot of sort of, weird shit that goes on, like hiring, making M. Night Shyamalan the director of the Avatar movie. Like there's these weird, wacky decisions that you see where it's like
triggered.
All right, yeah. Where it's like, who thought this was a good idea? And I also think making sure that you don't you got to balance meeting fans' expectations, but at the same time not compromising your own vision. Because I think sometimes when you involve the fans too much, things get kind of crazy and go in every single different direction, right? That's kind of what I thought happened with Arrow in a way as well. They started like at first I was fine with him just wearing like the oil paint mask and like some other shit, because they were putting like I was never like. Green Arrow was cool, but that was it. But Arrow was amazing. Like when those first two seasons came out, I think because it had its own identity and it was somewhat separating itself a little bit from, because he's always been analogous with Batman for the most part, right?
Right.
I think that's just.
I could go on a big speech about the big philosophical difference between Green Arrow and Batman, but
but I mean on paper, right? Or on the eye test, right? They're both billionaires with no superpowers. But I think but it's just, you start getting into like these things where it's like I think you have to figure out what the soul, like especially if you're doing a remake or adaptation of something, right? Whether it's anime or a video game or something, you got to figure out what the soul of this is, what makes this special, what makes people love it, and then how do we express that in the best way possible. And a lot of times that happens, and when it does happen, it's great, but when it doesn't happen, it's bad, and you get movies like the Mortal Kombat movie or the Monster Hunter movie. And I'm going to use a lot of video game movies because that seems to be a recurring theme here in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, that's what they do. They make us fall in love with a game, and then they go, let's get a movie version of this, but then let's hire the worst director possible to fit this movie.
And it's never like the Assassin's Creed movie made no sense. And they have the content there. Literally, it's copy and paste. Find the actors, find the director. And they just what if we had a machine that, kind of made them go back?
There's very few movies I can think of that have been made after games that have been successful. I think Detective Pikachu is one that stands out. I think
Detective Pikachu is a banger.
Sonic the Hedgehog I heard was good.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
I like Sonic. I mean, they definitely had to redo him. The first version of Sonic was a nightmare
because fans were like, "What the fuck is this?
Why'd you give him teeth?"
Yes.
But then you have to think was that because Nelly said something in chat earlier about how they have a lot of work meetings and it's incredible how many people who aren't designers try to tell designers how to do their jobs. How much money would you want to put that it was a fucking suit that went? He needs to have more normal teeth.
Yeah, he just look more realistic.
He needs to look more realistic. And then the designer,
as a designer, I totally understand that.
And the designer went,
that had to happen.
"Wait, you want me to give him more realistic teeth?" And the guy was like, "Yeah, let's change him up a bit. Let's make him Sonic." And you're like, "Oh, God."
We need to do a TikTok on that.
We did.
That was a suit. You can tell decisions like that. And then when they redid it, you were like, "That's probably what the guy. That's ballpark." That's ballpark what he probably originally pitched.
Right.
And somebody said, change it.
Graphic designer who modeled and rendered Sonic knows what Sonic looks like. He's not going to, or she's not going to fuck that up.
Somebody came in and gave pointers on how to change Sonic and said, give him real people teeth. And did it because, shit, you're a designer. Somebody who makes twice I'm gonna told you to give him real teeth, so you're like, fuck it, this guy has a parking spot here. I'm getting paid. I'm gonna make him have real teeth. That's that.
One thing that just came to mind though, there's kind of on a scale of the polarity between being open and listening to other people and the customer base and just being open to other ideas in general and kind of having everything in your head kind of sorted out and having a plan, especially in the entertainment industry, for a franchise, for a product, for a production of some sorts. There's benefits and weaknesses to both, right? You can see with the Snyder Cut, the being receptive to the fans was something that's paid off for them in the long run. It's really benefited Warner Brothers. And now that we see this as a possibility, we go, okay, we can vocalize these things and maybe we can possibly initiate changes in Warner Brothers to get them to create the kind of products that we want them to create. And listening to, Cyberpunk, that's another example of people actually listening to, feedback and being receptive to it. And so we've seen this kind of
pushing a product that wasn't finished.
That's true. Yes, that's also true as well. But we've seen at least some sense of leadership being receptive to the public. But also on the other hand, I remember Miyamoto, one leader that we talk about a lot. He has talked about a lot of times. Why he hasn't implemented, a lot of basic features. Like why isn't the original 150 in every Pokemon game? Why isn't, this kind of thing out there? And he answered one time that if I gave the fans exactly what they wanted every single time, then we would just have remakes of Red and Blue over and over and over again.
That's very
true. And so that there has to be some kind of independent decision making on their part where it is a little bit separate from the fans' feedback. If you remember when Sword and Shield came out, to even talk about Pokemon in general, there was a huge blowback on it because it wasn't going to include all 800 or nearly 900 Pokemon in there, and we've got fucking 600 or 800, 200 short of all of them, and the people were acting like it was going to blow up the franchise, but actually staying steady on that course and saying no, even with Dexit, as Little Nelly points out in chat, we're still going to continue on with this franchise, led them to producing, Sword and Shield, which is only outsold by Red and Blue, the original ones that have about a 25-year head start on them. So when you put all that together, there's a kind of a balance between being kind of steadfast in your decision making and being receptive to the public. In 2021, what side of that spectrum do you need to lean more on? Jake, we'll start with you. It's a tough question.
Well, I definitely think you got to be receptive to the fans, in some aspect, because things like Sonic, they were able to change that franchise around just by listening to the fans. And so you got to give people what they want, but you can't give them exactly what they want. Because honestly, people don't know what they want. That's the biggest thing too. Yeah. As a person who has helped made apps and other things like that in the past, people think they know what they want, but you got to really give them, right? Like Zuckerberg always had this crazy quote about how when they pushed the actual news feed, that was like everybody hated it. Everybody was talking about like, what is this news feed? I don't like it. What's this whole thing? But Zuck said, we already knew you wanted it because we saw it in the data. Like you said you didn't want it, but you didn't realize that's what you wanted. And so they had to just tweak it a little bit. And over the years, now it's like that's Facebook. The news feed is Facebook. It's no longer me going to your page. People may not remember that. I just aged myself so hard, by the way. When you first had Facebook, I would have to go to Dotson's page to see his post. Because when I logged into Facebook, I was on my page.
Jake and so thoroughly enjoying Mortal Kombat stoned right now.
Yeah. And so anyway, I definitely think you got to listen to the fans because, to an extent, but you also have to create your own thing and you've got to do what you got to give people what you think, what they want, right? Because as most of the time creatives, they're coming to see you make something, right? Like if Picasso had made every painting the same thing over and over again, would people have kept buying them? Obviously he wanted to change it up a bit. And so, but kept the same style. So anyway.
Kev, same question to you. On the spectrum of steadfast to being open to reception, where do you need to lay more on as a leader, or where do you put yourself as a leader in 2021?
Yeah, I think I like what Jake said, where it's like you gotta balance, and I'll harken back to what I was saying earlier, understanding the soul of what you're making and how to best execute that without too much influence. Because there's a saying that you can't have too many cooks in the kitchen. That's what happens oftentimes with these things. And I think once you, like Jake was saying, once you get somebody that you put in power to run this ship, to captain this helm, you got to trust that decision. Your job as an exec is already done. That's all you got to do. You hired this person for you don't need to be micromanaging and getting involved in every single step of the process. That's how these things get messy and screwed up. That's how you get Sonic with teeth. So. And same thing with listening to the fans, because you were saying, where it's you'll just have remakes, repeats, and you'll just be battling for whose nostalgia are you going to tickle this time, right? You have to figure out a way, and that's the thing. You're going to have to make sacrifices and compromise. You're not going to be able to make every single body. You're not going to be able to make everyone happy, right? Because you won't ever create anything new. And I think that's the thing where you got to be okay. People gravitate more towards this. We want to do something innovative. I'll use Mario games as an example, right? I haven't heard anyone really say anything about a Mario game, really. It's because they stick to what they know, but they're also not afraid to do something crazy. Mario in space, Mario with a water backpack, Mario traveling the world, and
Mario's a T-Rex.
Right. But they don't fuck up and make Mario 6'5", jacked. No one's trying to make CW Mario.
They don't give him teeth.
Even in Mario's fighting games, he's still Mario.
He's still
they don't ever change him
up.
over.
The soul of what he is intact, but they just figure out a way to express it in a creative way that they want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dealing with fans, it gets tricky. Because, I said, people, they may think they know what they want. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they do. Yeah. And even if you give them that, they're still not going to be happy. So,
right. You can't listen to everybody. That's the thing. You got to trust your gut.
Like with everything in life, including hard drugs, it's all about moderation, kids.
Exactly. Well, we talked about some of the challenges leaderships face, but what makes for good leadership in the entertainment industry? But what are some examples of bad bosses? Are there any leaders out there that you think really left the franchise worse than when they got in?
Yeah, so I'm not going to name any specific names. I'll just name organizations. EA and Activision gets in there too. EA literally cannibalizes itself by killing game studios that they absorb and IPs. There's so many great game developers and games that were out there that existed, got bought by EA, and literally don't exist anymore. And they just keep making Madden and FIFA, and a crappy Star Wars game with a great Star Wars game every 20 years or so, or however long they've had.
And they still won't give me NFL Street. Jesus Christ, bro. I have been waiting
my God.
so long.
Oh my God, NFL, yeah, and that's the thing. Like EA, and they did the shit with, and I pick on EA because they've ruined one of my favorite game franchises, Mass Effect, and and ruined a game where you basically got to be RPG Iron Man. They can't seem to get out of their own way, and this is where you see, where I was talking about earlier, where they're trying to, where you have to balance, capitalizing and then creativity. Saw it with the loot boxes, the egregious loot box system that is in just about every single one of their games, and they get shit for it. Like they don't have a lot of great games, and it's for good reason. It's because their number one priority is we're gonna make money first, and at the end of the day, it's working for them because they have these sort of, it's like a consumable product almost, where it's like you could like, I'll break it down to you like this. And matter of fact, I'm gonna throw 2K actually in there. 2K, you're not unscathed from this either, given recent events. The sports games, Madden and NBA 2K could literally be a free to play game that is just upgraded with content every season or so, but they won't do it. And they won't do it because they know they're going to sell a $60 game every single year, and then people are going to pour close to $100+ dollars, sometimes even more, into these games in microtransactions.
I mean,
I've done it a lot.
We talk about it all the time.
Yeah, me too, and I'm ashamed of myself.
I've given them more money than I probably should have.
And Activision too, because of Call of Duties, like we already know, and
Activision's right in there in that bucket too.
A lot of people don't know they fucked Bungie up. That's why Bungie left, and Destiny's great now. Like, you see that. Like, that's a great example of like the stark contrast between what happened when Activision had their greasy, clutchy hands on Bungie, as opposed to when Bungie got their soul back and left, and now apparently Destiny's amazing.
Yeah, I've heard good things.
I've heard good things as well. Jake, same question to you.
I mean, I got to think if we're talking about leaders that have left a franchise worse than when they got it, Fox ruined the Fantastic Four. I feel like every Marvel, any superhero fan in general, if you probably ask them like who are the worst heroes in the universe, they'd probably be like, oh, the Fantastic Four fucking suck. And it's like, no, they don't. Like, they're cool characters. They have cool backgrounds. Like, they're really entwined in the whole universe. And it just sucks that Fox has never given up their clutches on that bad boy, because it's like, but a lot of people don't know that Lucas and Spielberg co-founded or co-came up with the idea of Indiana Jones. When the Crystal Skull was going to come out, it was because of Lucas. So Lucas was wanted to keep going with Indiana Jones, while Spielberg was like, nah, man, like, let's not do it. And so I was going to blame Lucas for almost ruining Indiana Jones.
And you're saying you didn't like the Crystal Skulls, I'm guessing.
No, I didn't.
I mean, Lucas, you could look at George Lucas arguably in a lot of negative lights here. I mean, he sold the rights to Star Wars, and then that was after the sequel series. Yeah. And then we got the prequel series, and then we got the sequel series, which was been awful. Yeah. And I mean, the only thing that's really been saving it is Jon Favreau and The Mandalorian. Yeah. That's really true. That and Rogue One. And honestly, the reason Mandalorian is doing well is because of the things that were set up in Rogue One. So
Sony simultaneously put Spider-Man on the map and then almost killed it.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Like they were one of the few companies that like took a franchise and said, yo, we're going to make it established, and really helped get Spider-Man established. Those early movies, some of the games they made, stuff like that. Fantastic. Spider-Man 2 was fucking awesome.
Influential in superhero movies in general.
Game, by the way, Spider-Man 2, the video game, fucking awesome. Anyway, and so like, they really, kind of got it on the map. And then the Amazing Spider-Man, especially the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like, what the fuck were they doing there?
A lot of things.
Yeah, I know, right? And I'm going to go back with Bungie also, because when Bungie gave up the reins to 343 for Halo, or essentially, whenever that whole thing went down, I was like, that's the beginning of the end for Halo. And it kind of was in a way. And so we're going to have to see what they do on this one. Maybe they redeem themselves on a new Halo. But like the first 3, I believe, were made by Bungie, and those are hands down everyone's favorite Halo games by far.
Yeah,
and
the first
so,
3 and Reach were made by Bungie, and then everything else 4, 5
was
all
343 in
343,
studios
yeah.
or whatever.
Which is funny because they made a game called Halo Wars, which is actually kind of fun. I like RTSs.
Halo Wars, yeah.
I do like
I
RTSs.
haven't played Halo Wars before, but RTSs are fun. I haven't gotten a chance to play one in a long time, and that would be
I
fun.
would
that was
mean to play
but
that
that
one.
was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. But yeah, like Jake is saying, like Bungie's kind of they try to come out unscathed, like in a way they seem victimized, where it's like, oh no, we're being run astray by executives. But I mean, dude, you chose to leave Microsoft so you didn't have to make Halo games. You wanted to make something new, and then you signed with Activision so they can fund Bungie, or so they can fund Destiny. Like, you chose to do that. Like,
You chose that.
Yeah, you chose that.
Yeah. A big thing to remember is the classic saying, "There's no I in team," right? Obviously, a bigger corporation gets usually there's more decisions made by a group or a full team of executives. What do you guys believe are some solid examples of companies that made great industry leaders?
Yeah.
Jake.
That's a good question. I mean, Nintendo, obviously, we've been blowing smoke up Nintendo this whole time. If you're talking about an industry leader that trusts its creatives and really leans into being a little zany at times, Nintendo, right? Like those guys, they've never been afraid to innovate. And I've always, I feel like it's a company that, like, I mean, I don't own a ton of stock in, but when I first started like going like, oh, I want to learn about stocks and stuff, I bought some Nintendo stock because I was like, I like Nintendo. As a company, I like them, I dig them. And so, that's an obvious one. I believe the most part, they've pretty much just let creatives do what they do best, which is create. And I mean, Disney is a tough one. I think they've been a pretty good daddy to Marvel. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I think they've kind of let Marvel do its thing. Like, I know a lot of people were really concerned whenever Disney bought Marvel. But what's happened? We've gotten more Marvel entertainment movies and shows and everything than we ever had before.
Right, but Star Wars.
Huh?
Right, but Star Wars.
I mean, yes, those have been bad. But I would have to talk to someone who had never watched Star Wars. Like, how did they take these new trilogy? Because it wasn't made for me in a way. Right. Like, it was kind of like Disney was trying to get more people.
Right.
And so,
and that's the thing, a lot of people who don't have the history with Star Wars like the sequels.
Yeah, that's true. But so I mean, I gotta say, Disney's been a pretty good daddy to Marvel. It's they've been letting Kevin Feige do pretty much whatever he wants.
I think we said his name differently each time.
Yeah, probably. I mean, if he ever like, hopefully he'll just comment how it's pronounced in chat. I thought I saw it on Wikipedia as Feige or Feige.
I thought it's
Feige. Maybe Feige. Okay, yeah. Anyway,
I'm not quite sure either.
Well, anyway, Kevin. I'm gonna start calling him Kevin.
Just Kev.
Kevin.
Kev,
you won't know if we're talking about Kev on the show or Kevin Feige.
Kevin F.
Feige. Feige. Anyways, Kevin, same question to you though. Not Kevin Feige, the Kev on the show. What are some good companies that made industry leaders?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go off. I'm gonna again Nintendo again. Right, because I feel like growing up, and even in most cases, like Nintendo was almost, maybe not now, but at the point, Nintendo was basically like the like Band-Aids and Kleenex of their industry, right? Where like that was what you called a video, or someone uninitiated would call a video game. Oh, you're playing your Nintendo, even though you're like playing a PlayStation or Sega or something, No,
they legit.
Like that's how. Yeah.
Were like, have you ever heard that story? Do you know that? Yeah. That's a real thing in branding and marketing. I learned it in college.
What?
Like Nintendo. So Kleenex and oh my God, I know we're running over, but so Kleenex and things like that, like they risked, and Band-Aid was a big one too. A lot of these corporations risked actually losing their copyrights because they're called like normal products, right? So like it's called hand sanitizer, but everyone says Germex. So like no matter what the name or brand of that hand sanitizer is, a lot of people will go, "Do you have any Germex?" And it'll
like
be like,
in the South, people call everything a Coke. Like
exactly,
like can I get a Coke?
Everybody calls
like, is Pepsi
Coke.
okay? It's like I said a Coke.
Everyone would call a tissue Kleenex. Like, do you have a Kleenex? And so Kleenex and a lot of corporations like that, they run this huge issue, which is like once it becomes kind of like a common word, knowledge or whatever, you can lose your copyrights on that. And so there was this whole thing where I think like Nintendo actually pushed to like have the word video game or like home console and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like they actually like pushed marketing campaigns for that so that people wouldn't call other gaming consoles Nintendos. Because they were like, we don't want to lose our rights. And so it's anyway, sorry. I know I got on a small tangent, but it's a cool branding story.
Yeah.
So
anyways, like that, like that's one, like if someone's like isn't a gamer or is like wants to do it casually and wants to get in video games, like I would just always suggest a Nintendo console. Like it's a great start. I mean, it's not only just a great start, but it's just something great to have. Like it's so universal. And now I would say, Marvel for sure. And again, back to Xbox, I think like just the evidence. I use these as an example. I want to use like examples of just sort of steady growth and consistency. I think that's why Nintendo makes a list. And then also taking something on the brink of destruction and then turning it around, right? That's why I use Xbox like Phil Spencer.
All right, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll I think wrap it up for our conversation on Final Boss leadership in the entertainment industry. Those are absolutely great examples. I think that you could talk about. I think some examples in TV. CW obviously establishing the superhero TV universe, I think, is a good leadership.
Yeah.
Now, has that leadership been maintained? I'd argue probably not. But
they did start that pendulum, though. They made that swing. They were kind of one of the first like major TV, kind of thing. Well, semi-major, I guess, basic cable, right? And so they were just like, hey, let's make superhero shows. I mean, because before the Flash and Arrow and stuff like that, we really didn't have a lot. And then Netflix was like, "Oh, Daredevil, dare I say?" And like, and now look at us.
Snowballed from there.
Every week we're like, "Fucking Disney, give me more," Like,
and now we're talking about Disney Plus series about MCU characters that are involved in TV series. So, I think that's one to arguably talk about. But, anyways, that'll wrap it up for our deep dive discussion on Final Boss, and that pairs very nicely. If you're kind of pairing this like a wine tasting kind of thing with our top Zen that we have coming up, which is the top 10 greatest boss battles of all time. While real-world bosses get shit done in the boardroom, these bosses gave us a run for our money in the virtual world. And this week's top Zen is our top 10 boss battles, and I'm going to kick us off with number 10 in the countdown, Deathstroke from Arkham Origins. I feel like Arkham Origins is a game that I like more than I should. It is hilariously a buggy mess at times, and it really, shouldn't be considered that it's a less crowded version of Arkham City, which was already made. But anyways, it's still pretty fun. The new stuff isn't too bad, even though the electric gloves are a bit OP. The game does have a solid attempt at a compelling story, and I do think the boss fights was one of the strongest components of the game. Deathstroke being one of those best boss fights. It actually did feel like kind of a fair fight. In most bot fights, it's usually, you versus a huge, ugly, unseemingly powerful monster, and you having to kind of overcome this. But Deathstroke presented a challenge that was your size, right? That you had to look around and fight off. And when fighting Deathstroke, you're fighting someone that doesn't have a clear advantage over you, someone that is just as skilled as you are, essentially an equal to you. And I think that was a really fun element that really brought a lot of energy into this boss fight. And I felt like the fight could go either way at any point. I felt like I didn't know if this was the last boss fight that I was going to have with Deathstroke or not when I first played through that fight. It was epic. It was adrenaline inducing and probably one of my favorites boss fights out there. And for it to be, I do love the Arkham franchise. There's a lot of boss fights that were, notable contenders in here. Mr. Freeze from Arkham City being one of them. But honestly, this fight in Arkham Origins was my absolute favorite.
They put the best boss fight in Arkham Origins for the reason of like it'll get people to play it.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I mean, it's not a bad game. I don't like to shit on it like a lot of people do on the internet. I thought it was fun. I had fun playing it. And so, but this boss battle in particular is one that I remember it. Like I can recall it. It was a lot of fun to play.
Kev, you feel like Deathstroke is worthy of number 10 spot for this countdown?
I think so.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe not the game, but the battle for sure. That was the problem, right? It was such a great boss battle, and it was literally the first one. And then
Right. I thought it
Yeah,
was
it
like the
was.
third
It
or
was.
something like that, but
yeah,
it was still
It
very
was
early on
early.
in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
very
was
early on
too
in the
early.
game.
It made you go, this game's gonna be fucking good.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
yes, yeah, that was the
I
problem.
think that's
Right.
why people don't remember that game as well. Like
No.
they
That's
played that
probably
boss.
the biggest part of that problem of that
Yeah.
game, though. I mean, Kev hits on a good point. It peaked too early.
Yeah.
Yep.
It really
Peaked in high
did.
school. Peaked in high
Right.
school.
And like that, I thought the fight with Copperhead was pretty fun. Most people didn't like the fight with Copperhead.
That was hard, man. That's a hard one.
And the Bane fight at the end, like it was,
My God.
it was
remember that one too.
intense, but it wasn't as climactic as probably some of the other fights that we've had out there, and did feel
Yeah.
a lot like a cop out from the first Arkham game where
Yeah.
you're facing off against Titan Joker. So
Yeah.
I definitely see the problems with the game, but as far as that boss fight goes, it's a notable contender, and that's why it comes in at number 10 in our countdown. But speaking of notable contenders, number 9 is a very notable contender, and more than just our boss battles, but as a heavyweight champion. Mike Tyson comes in at number 10. Cav, tell us why Mike Tyson is even on this countdown.
Yes, Doug, we got Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! It's not an easy game. You will get your ass handed to you. But it isn't until the very last fight that you begin to know real pain. Digital Mike Tyson appears throughout the game, taunting you and smiling his iconic Gap 2 smile. But once he's in the ring with you, you'll realize he backs up his words. Soon into the bout, you will see that each of Mike's regular punches can almost knock you out. But then when he flashes, you better be prepared. Only the most nimble of gamers will be able to dodge each and every punch of his barrage, which culminates in his trademark uppercut that can KO you right away. He's one of the hardest video game bosses for this, and it doesn't help that you can be knocked out so very quickly, leaving you play through the entire thing again in order to try and learn his patterns. At least he stays away from your ears.
No, this is a tough one. And you can actually like I don't want to give like dude, I'm such fucking capitalist propaganda sometimes. But Nintendo Online actually has this game available. If you subscribe to Nintendo Online, you can play a lot of old retro games through the Nintendo Store. You download like this weird little retro console thing. I don't know. Do you people know what I'm talking about on Switch?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
sweet.
I do.
Well, it has this fucking game on there, and I ran it. I was like, "Yo, I haven't played Punch Out in forever. Let's run some Punch Out." I couldn't make it past the second guy. Like it's a tough.
It's so
fucking
hard,
game, dude. It's tough, and so I can't even imagine how hard Mike Tyson is, man. Like so I'm definitely like I'm gonna try to get there, but like, dude, I don't even know if I could.
A boss that you kind of have to like flawless victory.
Yeah,
to win.
You kind of do. Well, because each punch, if I remember, I mean, and I think you even said it, like takes away half your health. And so if you get hit once, you're already halfway gone. Like if you get hit by the uppercut, you're KO'd immediately. Yeah. So like it's literally 2 punches dead or 1 punch you're dead. That's your options.
Right.
So and it's
you
a
can
tough
take a
game.
glancing blow, but that's it.
Exactly. That's a tough game though. It really is. I encourage everyone with a Switch to try it just because you'll be like, we used to play this shit for fun.
Yeah, right. Games didn't hold your hand back then.
Yeah, it was Dark Souls, 8-bit style.
Right. For real. With, actual with boxers. With boxers and nothing to do with the Middle Ages at all, and two-dimensional and all other things. It was really nothing like Dark Souls, but the difficulty was like
it was really hard. It's really hard.
But speaking of hard, number 8 on our countdown was especially hard boss to encounter. Big Daddy, BioShock. Tell us why Big Daddy from BioShock comes at number 8 on the countdown before I make a gross joke.
The Big Daddy. They're the first thing most people think of when they think of BioShock, which is it's kind of true because of their iconic look.
Ironically, not the first thing people think of when they say Big Daddy. All right, there, I got it on my system. Cool.
They lumber around in kind of like this kind of antique looking atmospheric diving suits, and they're always protecting little sisters all over underwater world of Rapture. Some have these rivet guns or drill arms, but their punches are just as formidable. Forget the final boss battle of this game, which cheapens the experience. The big daddy enemies are by far the best in BioShock, especially as they are basically roaming battles that allow you to choose when and where you want to engage them. The best bet is to pick, to play on your turf, set up a bunch of, traps, get a bunch of heavy weapons, and set up for a fierce battle. There's few things as unsettling as the groaning well-like noises these guys make, especially combined with the, reverb kind of like loud sounding of their footsteps because of the heavy armor and everything. And so it's really atmospheric, kind of like how they set up all of these battles with Big Daddy. And so, but when they're angry at you, it's utterly terrifying, and you're in for it. So these are some of the funnest battles. The BioShock franchise has a lot of good boss battles, but I definitely think Big Daddy's got to be one of the hardest and at least scariest too, because the little sisters, those things are fucking scary too. Anyway.
Terrifying package.
Yeah,
absolutely terrifying package. I remember playing BioShock, and you just hear this thump, thump, and you're like, oh, fuck. And like, I hope this is not in the path that I need to go. And of course it always is. The little sisters, also terrifying, right? They could pop up. They have those little needle guns, and they were always dirty needles, always dirty. And that was the part that always got me. It was just that they were not just big needles, they were dirty. Like, that you're going to get something needles. From just dirty needles.
Immediate Hep C to the veins.
Eggs, right? and they would come up with those little guns and all that stuff.
You have AIDS. I mean, you skipped HIV,
right? I mean, the Big Daddy and Little Sister are a horror icon, for generations to come, and just probably one of the funnest, big enemies to fucking take down and just go at it with. So I totally understand why they make the countdown here. Kev, you ever taken on a Big Daddy?
I have, and it terrifies me just as much as it terrifies you. Like, I remember I played the demo, and it almost scared me so much I didn't get the game. But then I was like, I can't, it was so fun. It's such a great game.
Rapture's very cool.
I just hated that noise, that thumping noise. Like, it's still like sends shivers down my spine now, because you just know you're in just for like a fucked up day.
Rapture is a creepy setting in general. Like, it really is. Everything about those games is so, like I said, atmospheric. Like, they really do a good job of making you feel like you're in a really creepy underwater city that's post-apocalyptic and all that shit.
They always do that, right? Like that Art Deco sort of turn of the century style, even with the music and the record playing, like, it's all creepy. Like,
creepy game.
Yeah.
But not as creepy as number 7.
Well, I don't think number 7 is very creepy, but I think that number 7 is definitely one of the most difficult bosses that you'd have to face in video games. And I know personally,
I would want you to
I
tell
have
him
gone
he's not creepy to his face, Dotson.
Do what?
I said I would wager that you would not tell him he is not creepy to his face.
Yeah, I would. I would definitely tell him he's not creepy to his face, because he'd probably hit me with a fucking sledgehammer and knock my jaw halfway across in brutal fashion. And that's because number 7 in the countdown is Shao Kahn. Shao Kahn is one of the most celebrated villains in video game history. He is noted as one of the most difficult bosses out there. Publications and critics have praised his design, his in-game abilities and mannerisms, particularly his tactic of mocking and taunting players.
Yeah.
I can. Jake, you remember Dallas? You remember our buddy Dallas? I can remember a good amount of times in college sitting on the couch with Dallas and him literally getting just enraged, very much enraged by Shao Kahn's comments. And it's like one of the first times where, and it's really just literally because it's one of the first times that there was a character that was just taunting as frustrating, to play against, and was amping that up with taunts of it at the same time, that you really just fucking hated him. And there is a hatred for Shao Kahn, because I've seen Shao Kahn kill my character thousands of times. If we're putting a scoreboard of how many times I have gone up against Shao Kahn and won versus how many times, he's definitely taken away a trophy, 100%. He's the Emperor of Outworld. He's a ruthless killer who will stop at nothing with a giant magical hammer that basically has the same powers as Mjolnir, just fucking, sledgehammer size.
Yeah.
And not to mention that he has a army of Goros and Molinas and Barakas at his disposal. So when you think of big bosses, Shao Kahn is definitely up there. And honestly, it's kind of surprising he's not higher up on the list.
He's a hard one.
He is a big one. What do you think about Shao Kahn making number 7 in the countdown, Jake?
Oh no, I mean, like, obviously there's everybody on this list is a hard boss to beat, but Shao Kahn, like you said, I've seen him crush me thousands of times, and anytime you've climbed a ladder in Mortal Kombat, you feel this sense of achievement just to get all the way to the top and have that completely crushed, because Shao Kahn is literally gonna lube you up and clap them cheeks every time.
I think it was an X where the final boss. Well, no, I don't think it is Shao Kahn in that one. I think that's another one. No, because he had that weird magic guy that was also an elder god. But anyways, It was Mortal Kombat 9 where Shang Tsung was the first mini boss, Goro was the second mini boss, and Shao Kahn was behind all of them. So Shao Kahn stacks above, as far as difficulty, above the guy who can beat anybody, right? As Shang Tsung.
Yeah.
Literally a forearm fucking samurai Machamp. And then there's Shang Tsung, who's just got a fucking magic hammer. That's how much of a badass Shang Tsung is. And that's how, fucking ridiculously cheap some of his fucking moves are. Goddamn, he will not let you up. But yeah, that's why Shao Kahn makes number 7 in the countdown. Now, while Shao Kahn is the Khan of Outworld and is definitely, one of the big war pigs of Outworld. He's not as big of a war pig, or more or less a whiz pig, as number 6 in the countdown. Kev, tell us about number 6 in the count. I thought that was a pretty good transition.
Yeah,
pretty good, not bad.
Yeah.
Whiz Pig from Diddy Kong Racing. The primary antagonist of Diddy Kong Racing, Whiz Pig, is an intergalactic pig wizard who takes over Timbers Island and lays claim to the land's racetracks. Player must beat
you can stop an intergalactic pig wizard.
There you go.
That's why he makes it.
There you go. The player must beat Whiz Pig twice throughout the Nintendo 64 game, once on land and once in space. But it's actually the first race that presents the real challenge for racers. While Whiz Pig will inevitably take an early lead in the one-on-one race, the player can make up ground throughout the track's 3 laps. The key is to hit as many of the track's zippers as possible, which will give the racer a temporary boost in speed. Hitting these zippers alone isn't enough. You need to be pointing in the perfect direction to reap the full benefits of these boosts to stand any chance of staying ahead of Whiz Pig. And that to the list of things I wish I knew as a kid, because I had no idea how to fucking beat this pig. Did you guys?
It's interesting. Yeah, Whiz Pig is known, as one of those bosses that a lot of people just never beat. They just ended up playing Diddy Kong Racing with their friends instead of beating the actual story. Well, because like you said, he inevitably is going to take a lead because he cheats, and the game knows he cheats, and so you, as a person who can't cheat apparently, have to hit every one of those fucking things, to beat him essentially. Yeah. And so it was maddening as a kid. I played the bricks off this game, though. I definitely did. I played it probably more than Mario Kart as a kid. I played Mario Kart more as an adult almost. Yeah, super underrated. Yeah. But Whiz Pig is definitely one of those tough bosses that, he was tough to beat, especially as a kid.
I just hate.
I gotta find Diddy Kong Racing.
Yeah, Sag's got some feelings on. Sag's got a whole countdown on there.
He's in no order. Yeah,
in no order. Although there are some on there that I definitely agree with that may not have made this countdown, but we'll figure that out for sure. Yeah. As we move right along into number 5 in the countdown, The Master from Fallout. Jake, tell us why The Master makes number 5.
Yes, The Master at number 5. If you're a Fallout fan, this one, you probably were like, fuck yeah, knew this was coming. The creator of the super mutants that terrorized you through each Fallout game, The Master has decided that his best role in saving humanity is to turn the entire species into mutated beasts via a virus. Sound familiar? Anyway.
Damn you, Bill
showcasing how amazing the game it really is. You can choose to fight the master as expected at the end, even though he's quite hard to fight. You can attack twice around. He can attack twice around, has respawning super mutant bodyguards, and has a ton of his hit points. But you can also choose to simply blow up his entire building with a nuke, or just join forces and become a super mutant yourself. So, perhaps one of the most interesting ones on the list, because you can completely avoid it, depending on the skills you've upgraded. You may be able to convince him that everything he's done is terrible and get him so depressed that he chooses to kill himself rather than face you. So that's what makes the Master a pretty interesting one. As Fallout typically does, there's multiple ways to beat this boss. There's multiple ways to take this one on. And it's incredible to think that you can,
you can make him so depressed that he kills himself.
Yes, you can make him realize that everything he's done is so terrible that he takes his own life rather than fight you. And so that's one option. You can join him and become a super mutant, right? Or you can just nuke his whole place before, or you can just go in and fight him. Like, you have multiple options here, which is why, like, I think he's an awesome boss, and one that, I really wanted to put on the time, this countdown, because the fact that he's hard as fuck, by the way. Yeah. So the other options are better options.
Right. Yeah.
And so, like, but the one to where you can make him so depressed he takes his own life rather than fight you, I think that's just iconic.
That is pretty iconic. That is absolutely iconic. I didn't know that about the Master, and that it makes him a very interesting boss. Although I think I like the ending of a story where you fight up and finish the whole hero's journey, where you punch him in the face and knock him out, and good wins over evil, and yada yada, go home, get the girl, happy ending, that kind of thing. But I think the whole making him so depressed that he kills himself is a very interesting way to beat a boss.
Especially a pretty bad guy. Like, he really released a virus that turned humans into these giant super mutants. And so, like,
right.
The fact
if
that
you're doing this to a normal person, this is a really dick move.
Yeah. You don't want to be the 13th reason why on some normal person,
Right. Right. No, you don't. I think that's like a felony charge. But I'm not sure. There's some girl in so that's a bad joke. Anyways,
moving on to number 4 on the countdown.
Moving on to number 4 on the countdown. Kratos' relationship with Poseidon has been rocky at best, but Poseidon comes in at number 3. Going from collaborative to all in and all out rivalry. Poseidon's favorite city, Atlantis, is destroyed, so it's hard to say, why he's not coming back at Kratos at full force. But at the beginning of God of War 3, basically opens up with a giant, monstrous, literally a horse made out of sea. So like a seahorse squid tentacle thing that you're not only, have to take down, but you climb up, knocking off minions and fighting giant tentacles of water along the way. Electricity burst, but the main focus of the first stage is, it's actually teaching the player how to play the game through this boss fight. But it's just an epic boss fight that shows the capabilities of what God of War not only is known for, not only is good at, but just does so well and hooks you into a game like no other. I mean, just like God of War 4 with that first little, hunting scene kind of thing, this was the big seller in God of War 3. And God of War 3 was the mission where Kratos takes down the rest of the Greek gods. That was something that was hugely impactful for God of War 3 and kind of setting the tone for that game, and really just, it drew the player in more than anything else. Electricity burst. The next stages would require a player to be very mobile, rolling into delivering heavy attacks to the torso while avoiding, swings from his trident, eventually prying away the claws that support all of Poseidon, and, just going in for this gory kill at the end. It's a very, very satisfying victory, and it's a very, gratifying boss battle, and probably one of my favorite boss battles in God of War of all time. It's hard to put that up against the battle with Hades himself, because that was a really cool one too.
Zeus,
Zeus, Hercules, but I think
Poseidon
in that beginning hook was an amazing one. Kev, did you ever get a chance to take on Poseidon?
I did not. I've seen a lot of gameplay of it though. Fun fact: I've actually never played a God of War.
Oh wow!
But I know.
You need to get in on it,
man.
Yeah. I know. But I've seen a lot of it, and it makes me like it's yeah.
Borrow a PlayStation.
Right.
I will.
It's a good one. Honestly, like I said, the Zeus fight's good. This Poseidon one, I get why, because it's an iconic fight. God of War 3, it's how it's kind of starts it off and everything, and so it's a lot of fun. But like, the Zeus one was nice, Hercules was nice, Hades was nice. What was it? Not the three-headed, the Hydra. Hydra one, fucking sick.
Yeah, that was from God of War 1, but that's just how well this game has done with boss battles.
Oh, dude, there's multiple ones. And I've played every God of War. I had a PlayStation all the way up until PlayStation 3, and then I borrowed a friend's PlayStation 4 just to play the new God of War when it came out. And so, like, I've beat every God of War. I love them. If I ever get a PS5, I'll definitely buy, like, if they ever do, like, a full continuum of those bad boys, that's getting bought. Yeah. Great boss battles. But Poseidon definitely takes the cake, and that's why, like, I think number 3 is a great spot for him, or number 4 actually.
Number 4, but number 3. Let's go ahead and move right along into number 3, because number 3 is a good one. Kev, tell us who we got at number 3.
At number 3, we have Sephiroth from Kingdom Hearts. Well, Final Fantasy, but in Kingdom Hearts. He's labeled as one of the most powerful villains in the Kingdom Hearts series. Sephiroth is portrayed as a master swordsman wielding his long blade known as the Masamune, meaning that just one hit from Sephiroth can be a big threat to your hit points. His hits make him a legendary boss in Kingdom Hearts. He gives players a really hard time in trying to beat him, a boss not many can say they have actually successfully beaten. Sephiroth is the human-alien hybrid originally from Final Fantasy. It's much more of a challenge to take down in the Kingdom of Hearts series. Here, Sephiroth is able to block a ridiculous amount of the player's attacks. He's also able to counterattack with very little recovery time. Therefore, trying to get behind the one-winged angel may be the easiest way to get in for a hit. For this fight, preparation is just as important as the battle strategy. Going in to face Sephiroth below a level 70 will almost certainly spell disaster for newbies, just like our next pick will spell disaster for any 90s kids. Before we get into that, guys, I think Sephiroth had to make this list, right? I think it's fair he's this high. I think he's broken at any game he's in, regardless. But mostly in this one specifically.
Specifically Kingdom Hearts, he's definitely OP. Like, this was a tough boss battle. Like, it's one that still sticks with me to this day. It was actually on SAG.
Transcended so many different games, right? It's in Kingdom Hearts from Final Fantasy and Smash Brothers.
I said it was funny that out of SAG's entire list, this guy Sephiroth was the one that made it.
Right, I'm surprised.
But there's
because he's iconic. No. He's a tough one.
There's none of the other ones. Yep. Yeah, we got Sephiroth though.
Because he named some ones like Boss, like Metal Gear and Ninja Gaiden, things like that. Like, those are games, dude. I mean,
Shao Kahn.
Yeah, Shao Kahn. Okay, so we got 2. We got 2 for 10, 12, however many.
One of those, for sure.
But he had to make the list.
Oh yeah, had to make the list. And in Smash Brothers, he's continuing to do amazingly with his supremely long reach.
Yeah, he's kind of broken.
He's pretty OP. He's pretty broken.
Yeah.
Well, apparently not quite as broken as number 2 on the list. An iconic boss when we talk about boss battles, that is, and that has to be Bowser. So tell us why Bowser makes the countdown, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of people who just had to make the countdown, Bowser is a mainstay in every Mario Brothers game. But his appearance in Super Mario 64 may be his most memorable. Time after time, he appears in several in special level where you have to grab his tail and spin him around and toss him into a number of bombs, lining up the area to take him out. And every single time he comes crawling back for more. The stages themselves are both incredibly satisfying and a wonderful demonstration of the power of the 3D platformer, which this game effectively kicked off as a genre in general. So Bowser in the Sky, the final battle though, Mario, you see Mario flying or trying to face a Bowser that's learned a ton of new tricks, like how to break the ground, breathe fire, and send shockwaves by smashing down, defeating him. But defeat him and you'll rescue Princess Peach, even though you know that she'll just end up getting taken again in a future game. And so, this is one of those things where it's specifically the 64 boss battle. As a kid, this one gave me trouble. Like, you see him multiple times, like, I said throughout the game, and all of those, especially like, if you've played it before or after you get the hang of just spinning him around and throw him into bombs, they don't become a problem. At the end, though, they give this guy so many fucking moves. He's Smash Bros. And you're not yet. And so, like, it makes it a super kind of like challenging fight, especially on a Nintendo 64's controls. Yep. That's the biggest part,
you have
right?
To do
like
the thing
yeah,
where you
like, oh my god, like
the wax on.
The wax on, and like it's one of those where I don't know what's harder, the boss battle or the boss battle because of the controller,
Yep.
So
Yeah.
But honestly, Bowser in any Mario game's iconic. He's been a boss that I think everybody probably watching this and everybody on this show has beaten at least once in their life, and so that's why he had to make number 2 on the countdown.
Right.
But I don't know, what do you guys think about Bowser being at number 2? Should he have been number 1?
No, I think that he definitely deserves a mention out there. Headcanon for me, Bowser, Mario, and Peach are all in a polyamorous relationship with a kidnap and rescue kink. So this is just one of their endeavors, I can see it too.
It happens too frequently for it.
Right?
It makes the most sense as to why she's constantly, and she's never in any real danger. It's kind of a Pie and like fucking Olive situation where like, the big brute just comes and takes her, but he just like puts her like next to him and is just like, like I got.
And she's always like, "Oh, Mario, come on!"
Like,
that sounds.
She's never in that.
That sounds like a scene. Like it sounds like at any point in time she could be like red, and then she's like, "Okay, all right, we break everything up, right."
And also, Peach Mains will be the first to tell you that Peach could work Bowser real quick. Yeah, give him the quick work. She can take Mario too. I've played some people who know how to main Peach on GameCube, and they fuck you up, man.
Yeah, come out with that Peach bomb with the real Peach.
Oh yeah,
this is why they call me Peach.
Oh man,
but
it can only be one.
Yeah, there can only be one. What do you think about Bowser coming in at number 2 on the countdown, Kev?
Yeah, I think he's probably my number 1 boss, just because when I think of bosses, Bowser pops in my head. I think he's that iconic. But I think number 1 here. I think I'm good with 1. Bowser's my 1, but I'm okay with why he's number 2.
Yeah.
We had to put another Nintendo boss for number 1.
We had to put another Nintendo boss for number 1, and number 1 is Calamity Ganon. And Calamity Ganon is really just a placeholder for really Ganon in general, but Calamity Ganon happens to be probably one of my personal favorite forms of Ganon, and that is of course, the final boss for Breath of the Wild. So Ganon is the most iconic villain in the world of Legend of Zelda, but one of Link's toughest battles against the reoccurring boss has to be in Breath of the Wild. Link has fought a number of fearsome monsters and villains during his career as Hyrule's protector, but the most notorious is his archenemy Ganon. Ganon was the main antagonist of the original game, and although he doesn't appear in every single part of the franchise as a villain or boss, every entry in The Legend of Zelda has a reference to him somewhere in the plotline. He's not always the big bad, but most of the time he's the big bad. And if he's not the big bad, then he taught the big bad. If he's not the big bad, then he's like the emperor at the end of it, whatever the case may be.
Or a puppet or something.
Or a puppet, or some way, shape, or form. Some of my favorite Zelda villains have actually not been Ganon, but Ganon's always the big string puller. The quest to destroy Ganon is an essential part of the plot of Breath of the Wild, and one of the things that starts Link on his quest. That means that the final battle has been building up since the very beginning, and it doesn't disappoint. some things are the same as other fights, just like, the 2 phases in which Link has to face Calamity Ganon and then Dark Beast Ganon. The player does have to do some fancy footwork to avoid his sword strikes and laser beams, but if you have the right equipment, if you have the right tools for the job, you can do it pretty easily. Another similarity is that second phase is easier than the first phase. The battle moves outside and Link is mounted on a ranged weapon. The only real challenge is making that killing shot. And honestly, it's more cinematic than it is challenging at that point.
That part's for fun.
Right.
Like that's more just for cinema.
It's now we've got to do the big fight, and Ganon's now a kaiju, and it's kind of like a kind of coup de grace thing of Ganon. But Ganon was always been kind of the ultimate boss out there. I remember seeing people do speed runs of beating Ganon from the top of this tower, in Ocarina of Time, even as early as the 90s. And so if there's anyone out there to me that defines what boss battles are, it's got to be Ganon. He's got to be the top there. What do you guys, Kev, what do you think about Ganon coming in at number 1 in the countdown?
Yeah, I think he deserves to be here. I haven't fought him yet. I'm getting close.
Calamity Ganon in Breath of the Wild. That's right.
Yeah. But from what I've seen and heard, even just playing the game, all the build up and stuff, I'm really looking forward to this one. So yeah, I think I'm happy with this.
Yeah. Jake, you got any objections to Ganon making number 1?
No, I mean, I think Ganon specifically being number 1 makes a lot of sense. He's one of the biggest boss battles of my childhood, and into my adulthood with this Breath of the Wild battle, and particularly what makes this one so unique too is similar to almost the Master in a way, is that you have a choice to go fight Ganon right off the jump if you want.
Yeah.
You can make it there. I've seen speedrunners do it, and I've seen them beat Ganon with like rusted swords, which is fucking insane. It's one of those things where the people who do that, kudos to you for having that amount of time and skill.
Skills.
That's the biggest one. Is to be able to do all that stuff. I literally had to get OP, and then I went and fought Ganon. But this boss battle, it's a lot of fun. After you get all of the what are the 4 guardians or whatever the fuck they're called. After you get champions or something.
Ancient beasts, aren't they?
Yeah, ancient beasts. That's what it is. Yeah. After you get all of those done, and then you go straight over there and just wax this motherfucker up real quick. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun boss battle. Like you said, it does get a little cinematic, on the second half, but then that's still a lot of fun, and it ends, on a high note. And so, I forget Kev's just now playing through Breath of the Wild. You're gonna have a lot of fun on this one, man. It's a great final boss battle, and so I definitely would say avoid it until the end. I tried to
savored it. I savored it, and it was too easy for me because I did.
Okay, so that is the downside, because I did the same thing. I played this game as much as I possibly could before beating Ganon.
You're probably going to end up doing that just because that's just how I play these kind of games.
Yeah. But then you go into Ganon and you just wax him.
You will fucking mop the floor with Ganon if that's the case.
Because I get my ass kicked by everything else, so I was very concerned. I'm like, this doesn't look promising for me.
Yeah, honestly,
you gotta upgrade that armor. You get there.
Yeah.
To be real, the gold litinals are harder than Ganon.
Those are tough.
Those are harder than Ganon.
Yeah. And you got to get that shit to fucking upgrade armor. And so dude, I had to kill so many of those things. Once you get good at it, it's fun. It's hunting, and so they become fun little boss battles too.
You're doing all the bomb shots in the air and shit. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
God, I love that game. I need to go back and play Breath of the Wild.
I do too. I can't wait for the sequel to be coming out. But we do have a list of honorable mentions before we go, so we got to talk about those. Mr. Freeze from Arkham City, Laughing Octopus from Metal Gear Solid 4, Hitler from Wolfenstein 3D, Tinkerer from Miles Morales, Ornstein and Small from Dark Souls, Corda and or Atheon from Destiny, Nemesis from Resident Evil, Master Hand from Smash Bros, M. Bison from Street Fighter, Anything Sekiro, Jack of Blades, Fable, and Reapers from Mass Effect 2. So tons and tons of great bosses there. Not all of them could make the countdown, but hey, we had to have Wizpig on there. So,
Jack of Blades, I think probably looking at this, could have made the list.
Wizpig made this list because I wanted to throw people.
Jake,
that wasn't
I wanted people to be like, "What Wizpig?" But then I guarantee anybody who want to talk shit about WizPig being on the list won't go beat WizPig today.
Right.
Oh,
we
they
can't be.
Like, they
won't.
won't just go beat them right now.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
100%. All right. Well, that will do it for our show today, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you like anything you see or hear tonight, be sure to check us out on YouTube, on TikTok, on Discord, on all the places. We are all over the social medias in places. If you want to catch me on my stream, you can catch me at Roos Bane on Twitch and Twitter and on TikTok. Kev, where can they find you?
You can find me at Totally Awesome on Twitch and TikTok.
And Jake, what about you?
You can find me at Gonzo Gone Live on almost everything. If you're looking for me on TikTok, don't.
What do you mean? You just got 37K.
I know I did. It's pretty cool. I mean, I just don't.
Congrats, by the way.
Thank you. Like, but nah, it's just because I make stupid TikToks. So, but hey, that's what people love. People.
TikToks, Jake. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My last one was a coming mustache joke, so you're welcome.
It made me think about what you were talking about being what do we call it? Capitalist propaganda.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's what it made me think of.
I am capitalist propaganda. I hate it, but I love products and corporations, baby.
All right. Well, that'll wrap it up.
Fun.
Thank you guys. Also, big shout out to our moderator, Littlest Nelly, and everybody that's been going off in chat. Sag Gaming, Caperdoodle, Jesse Sims. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and keeping the conversation going. It's been a lot of fun. Also, big shout out to our producer, Cape the Doodler.
Caperdoodle. The Doodler.
Caperdoodle.
Doodle Bob.
The Doodler. And all of our new followers. We got a new follower a little while ago. Double Pekka.
Yeah.
Double Pekka. I hope that's how you say it. Thank you for the follow. We appreciate that.
Pekka.
Yeah. Is there any particular things from chat that y'all wanted to shout out?
I saw Sag's extensive boss battles. I mean, I think we had a few of those on our shout outs, for that, as far as, our honorable mentions and everything. Yeah. But dude, I've never played Call of Duty's campaign, Swimming Ninja Turtle. Like, you had a lot. So Sag, thank you for tuning in. Definitely thank you for your list. Yeah. I love giving you a hard time. Oh, and thank you. I thank you. I mean, I don't know if you have a headband, but if you have one, I like yours too.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Thank you, KLM. And Kev, anything for you?
No. I really, this was a fun show. I like talking about boss battles. I think it's I think it's a real lost art.
It really is. It really is. Yeah. We got to figure out another way to make another top 10 about boss battles. Yeah. For sure. But anyways, that will do it for the show. We'll be back same time, same place next week. If you miss us in between, then make sure to follow us on all of our other social medias. You can find that down below. Until then, we will see you then next time, same place. I don't know how to do an exit intro, so we will see you guys then.